In the days before pop-up tents became ubiquitous, setting up a tent was a bona fide technical skill. Sorting through a pile of poles that varied only slightly in length and figuring out exactly where each one went was no simple task. One wrong pole, and the whole structure would be a flop. Ethan Ford had his fair share of camping experience, but even he had to be careful. One slip-up meant starting over, and having 3 rookies asking questions didn't help. Ethan, where does this pole go? Ethan, this connector doesn't look right. Hey Ford, can you take a look at this for me? Bombarded by questions while trying to manage his own setup, Ethan's patience finally wore thin. Stop. Hold your questions for a second. The 3 of them turned to look at him, surprised. Ethan slapped his forehead and laughed helplessly. Bringing you guys camping might be the biggest mistake I've made recently. To improve efficiency and control the production process, I've decided we should split into teams. We'll build the tents one by one instead of all at once. Grace, you take over here. Tank, you and Chloe lay out the tent fabric, find a right orientation, and wait for us to assemble the frame before threading it through. This was also a setup Ethan had specifically designed for Wayne Tank Turner. Once the tent was up, Tank would have the perfect opportunity to slip his gift box inside. If all went well, the plan would be a success. Hey, you got it, Ford. Tank beamed, catching Ethan's drift immediately. The 2 girls had no objections, so the 4 of them split the work. Ethan stayed by the first tent to teach Grace Miller how to handle the frame. Grace gripped the poles with both hands, struggling to force one into the connector. Ugh, Ethan, I can't get this thing in, she complained. Ethan leaned in, grinning. Here, let me give you some hands-on instruction. Look, you have to go from the top down. Move slowly, don't rush. Sometimes you have to twist it a little, like this, and then push it in. Ethan held her hands, guiding her with patient, detailed movements. Click! The pole snapped into place. See? Went right in, didn't it? Grace, how was my technique? Grace looked back at him, puzzled, then wrinkled her nose. Ew, why does your tone sound so weird? But hey, I learned it. Ethan kept a straight face. Since you've got the hang of it, you do the next one. Remember, be gentle with your hands. Grace paused, a sudden image flashing through her mind. Her face instantly flushed red. Ethan Ford, she unleashed her signature move, the dragon claw pinch, grabbing a pinch of soft flesh at Ethan's waist. Ow! Grace, what was that for? Ethan winced in pain and quickly hopped away to avoid a second attack. Grace glared at him, her face burning. Who told you to be so inappropriate? Who said anything inappropriate? I'm a wholesome guy, okay? I don't even keep a diary. Ethan defended himself. Grace raised her hand as if to hit him, and Ethan took off running. The 2 chased each other around the clearing, their laughter echoing through the campsite. On the other side, Chloe Jones and Tank were laying out the tent fabric. Seeing the couple playing so happily, they both instinctively paused. TSK, Grace is so lucky, Chloe said enviously. She had a boyfriend who adored her, spoiled her, and they were childhood sweethearts. Their closeness was effortless. Wasn't that the kind of romance everyone dreamed of? I want a sweet romance like that too. So jealous. Chloe screamed internally, but when she turned her head, her eyes locked with Tank's. Yeah, Ford and the School Queen are a perfect match. Definitely enviable. Tank chuckled awkwardly, adding silently in his heart. Like me, for instance. Chloe's cheeks reddened slightly. She turned away, breaking eye contact. Hopefully, who can predict matters of the heart? Hearing this, Tank felt a scratch at his heart, an unbearable itch. He always felt like there was a layer of fog between him and Chloe. Hard to grasp, hard to see through. Trust me, it'll happen, Tank said seriously. After fooling around for a bit, Ethan and Grace got back to business. Working together, they quickly assembled the frame and then moved to thread it through Chloe's tent fabric. With the 4 of them working together, it took about an hour to fully set up the first tent. A beige, hexagonal 2-person tent stood before them. Not bad, not bad. I can officially build a high-difficulty tent now. Grace clapped her hands in satisfaction, feeling a strong sense of accomplishment. Chloe looked the tent over carefully, then leaned close to Grace's ear and whispered, Grace, this tent isn't exactly huge. Will you guys have enough room to maneuver tonight? What are you saying? Grace glared at her, flustered. Chloe covered her mouth and giggled. Based on my years of research into romance dramas, a couple in the heat of passion, how can they avoid creating life? If I had a boyfriend and we were in the honeymoon phase, do you think he'd even be able to get out of bed? Grace swatted Chloe's arm. You think I'm like you? I don't have such vigorous demands. Chloe kept a straight face. What? It's just human nature. Besides, we're all adults here. What's there to be shy about? We're not kids. Adults should do what adults do. Grace pouted. And what exactly are adults supposed to do? Chloe teased. Make love, obviously. Chloe, you're the worst. Grace's cheeks burned hot. She was too thin-skinned to continue this deep dive with Chloe. But Chloe wouldn't let it go. She leaned in closer, whispering, Grace, share with the class. Come on. What did your first time feel like? What are you two whispering about? What feels like what? Ethan suddenly walked over, interrupting their conversation. Grace seized the chance to hide behind Ethan, sticking her tongue out at Chloe. Play, I'm not telling you. If you want to know, go find yourself a boyfriend. Ethan looked confused. Grace, what were you talking about? Oh, nothing. Nothing at all. Let's keep building the tents, or it'll get dark. Grace pulled Ethan away. Suddenly, the wind picked up from the north. The clouds thickened, and a moment later, a light rain began to fall. Crap, it's raining. Tank shouted. He hurriedly pulled a gift box tied with a bow from the car and stuffed it into his jacket pocket. He was just about to make his move, but the rain beat him to it. While it's light, let's get the second tent up. Ethan yelled back. Raindrops drummed against the car roof. The four of them worked together to spread out the second tent. The ground was already getting slick, and Grace nearly slipped. Worried she might fall, Ethan said, Grace, don't carry the heavy stuff. You go start connecting the poles. Tank, and I will haul the gear. Tank, come with me. The two men hauled thick ground mats out of the trunk. Suddenly, Tank's foot slipped in the mud. He crashed into Ethan, and they both tumbled to the ground. Holy SHD, this mud is slippery. Ford, you okay? Tank scrambled up with difficulty, concerned. I'm fine. Let's get the tent up fast. Looking at the sky, this is going to be a heavy downpour. Ethan got up, brushing off his hands. As they moved the mats to the side, Tank instinctively patted his left pocket. Where's the lipstick? Panic surged through him. If the gift was lost, all this effort was for nothing. Just then, Chloe pointed behind Tank from a distance and shouted, Tank, what's that? Did you drop something? Tank spun around and saw a blue and white box lying in the mud. He rushed over, snatched it up, and shoved it into his pocket. Turning back, he gave a goofy grin. Yeah, it's mine. Just a trinket, a little gadget. Phew, found it. Now he just needed to put it into the gift box and sneak it into Chloe's tent, the one they were building right now. With the experience from the first tent and their swift movements, they finished the second tent in about half an hour. Tank ducked inside to place the mats. He quickly pulled the gift box out and placed it in the corner, hiding it under the mat. He opened the gift box, intending to take the lipstick out for a quick check before putting it back in. Suddenly, Chloe appeared behind him. Tank, how's it going? Is it ready? The rain's getting heavier. Startled by her voice, Tank frantically grabbed the box from his pocket, shoved it into the gift box, and covered it up. The whole action took less than a second. Yeah, all set. Come in and get out of the rain. Tank turned and shouted, secretly letting out a long sigh of relief. Ethan leaned into the tent entrance, giving him a look. Did you place it? Tank flashed an okay sign and nodded excitedly. The plan was smooth. No accidents whatsoever. Ethan grinned and gave him a thumbs up. Tank, nice work. The rain's getting heavier. Tank, let's go wait it out in the car. Ethan waved at Tank, signaling him to come out. You got it, Ford. Tank crawled out of the tent. Once they were seated in the car, Ethan immediately asked, Did you really place it? It's placed. Everything is going according to plan. Tank exhaled a heavy breath. Good. This is it, man. It's in the bag. Ethan high-fived him excitedly. As long as Chloe sees the gift and doesn't reject you, Tank, you're set. Tank scratched his head, filled with anticipation. Yeah, I hope she likes it. Haha, don't worry. You said she likes lipstick, right? Give her what she likes, and there won't be any problem. Ethan reassured him. Sound good. By the way, Ford, should we wait until it's a bit darker to play some music? Tank asked. Ethan nodded. Of course. I've got the romantic ballads ready. This car is our sound system. Ethan rummaged through the glove compartment and pulled out an English CD. Once he popped it in and cranked the volume, the atmosphere would be maxed out. Tank, remember this. Wait for me to set the mood, then find a moment when the two of you are alone. Tell her then. Once she sees the gift, she'll be moved to tears. Ethan instructed. Got it. Ford, I'm following your lead. Tank nodded vigorously. So let's rehearse. What are you planning to say to her? Ethan asked curiously. I'll just say it straight. Like, Chloe, I have a gift for you. It's in your tent. If you look, you'll find it. Tank said honestly. Ethan flicked him on the forehead. You idiot. How can you say it like that? Man, Tank, you're still lacking in the romance department. Tank rubbed his head, mumbling that, how should I say it? Ethan cleared his throat, adopting the air of a wise mentor. Tank, you have to use romantic language. Don't be so utilitarian. Listen to me. Say something like, Chloe, actually I have a secret in my heart. I was too shy to tell you to your face. This secret is hidden in your tent. If you find this secret and you like it, I think you might need to use it. Or I can help you use it. This secret represents my feelings. I hope you understand. Ethan spoke with deep emotion, demonstrating the delivery. It's lipstick. Women love that stuff. If she really likes it, she's basically accepting your feelings, right? Then your relationship goes to the next level. Tank looked enlightened, giving Ethan a thumbs up in admiration. Brilliant. That is absolutely brilliant. You really are the expert, Ford. Ethan coughed dryly. Cough, what expert? Don't talk nonsense. Don't let your sister-in-law hear that. I'm a most loyal man in Chicago, the innocent white knight. Okay, I got you, Ford. Tank made a gesture of understanding. Knock, knock, knock. Suddenly, someone tapped on the car window, startling both of them. Ethan turned to see Grace standing outside, holding an umbrella, staring at them. He quickly rolled down the window. Hey, Grace. What's up? Grace eyed them suspiciously. What are you two doing? Huddled together all day. Are you hiding something from me? Speak. Are you guys plotting something behind my back? Ethan immediately held up 4 fingers. I swear on the Fourth Amendment, absolutely not. Tank added, sister-in-law, Ford and I are innocent. Ethan. Grace. Ethan turned and flicked Tank on the head again, exasperated. Tank, since you're so good at talking, just shut up. Ouch. Tank clutched his head, looking aggrieved. Grace glared at them. How long do you plan on staying in the car? Help get the luggage. Bring it to the tents. Oh, and the portable stove, pots, and pans for the cookout. Ethan raised both hands in surrender. Ok, no problem. I resolutely obey leadership's commands. Ethan shot Tank a look, signaling him to play it by ear. They got out, moved the luggage, and carried it to the tents. Once they were done, Ethan shouted from the tent entrance, Tank, the rain's picking up. Go hide in Chloe's tent for a bit. When it lets up, we'll help you build yours. Tank knew Ethan was creating an opportunity for him. He nodded repeatedly. You got it, Ford. You guys rest. I'm in no rush, no rush. Tank jogged excitedly over to Chloe's tent. Ethan and Grace ducked into their tent to change out of their wet outer layers and lie down to rest. After 2 or 3 hours of hard work, neither of them wanted to move. After lying there for 7 or 8 minutes, Grace suddenly sat up. Ethan, did you drop something? Drop something? I don't think so. Ethan patted his pockets, then suddenly remembered the raincoats in his jacket's left pocket. He quickly sat up, grabbed his jacket, and checked. Empty, huh? Where did the raincoats I bought go? Crap. I think I really did lose something. Ethan said helplessly. Grace smiled mysteriously. She pulled a blue and white box from her pocket and said triumphantly, I knew it was yours. Confess. Were you planning to give me a surprise? Always playing these tricks, you're so annoying. But I like it. Grace beamed with a sweet smile, happily hugging Ethan's arm. Ethan. Holy crap. Does Grace actually like this kind of stuff? Grace, what? What are you saying? Ethan was having trouble processing. Logically speaking, going without should be the most comfortable. Regardless of gender, shouldn't the thought be the same? If it wasn't for safety, who would want to wear that thing? Grace blushed, pinched his nose, and said playfully, I'm still pretending, still acting with me. Did you know I was out of lipstick and buy this specifically for me? Trying to hide it to give me a surprise. This princess saw through you ages ago. Grace happily displayed the blue and white box in front of his eyes. Ethan focused his gaze. The blue and white packaging, plus the picture of lipstick on the side. He was instantly dumbfounded. What? Lipstick? Holy SHD. This is the lipstick Tank got for Chloe. Why is it here? Then where are the raincoats I bought? If Tank's lipstick is here, then the thing he just put into the gift box. Surely it wasn't. In the other tent, Tank and Chloe sat near the entrance, listening to the soothing music coming from the car and admiring the misty river view in the rain. It's a bummer it's raining on our rare camping trip, Chloe said, resting her chin in her hands, lacking enthusiasm. That's Chicago weather for you. Can't help it, Tank replied, but his heart was already racing, his palms sweating. He was focused entirely on how to structure his words, how to smoothly deliver the lines Ethan had taught him. But the more he thought about it, the more nervous he got. This was more nerve-wracking than negotiating a 6-figure contract. Chloe, actually I have a secret. I want to use it for you. I want to help you use it. Tank stammered, the script he had organized in his head falling apart the moment he opened his mouth. What? What are you saying? Chloe asked, looking completely confused. She had no idea what Tank meant. Tank summoned his courage, his face turning beet red. Cough. Actually, I have a secret in my heart. This secret is hidden in your tent. If you find this secret, I think you'll like it. Chloe paused, surprised. You prepared a gift for me? Yes. Tank nodded goofily. Chloe covered her mouth and laughed. I wondered what it was. You wanted to give me a gift. Right. You should like it. I want to give it to you to use, or I can help you use it. Tank nodded repeatedly. Something I'd like? And you can help me use it? What is it? Chloe asked curiously. You have to find that yourself. I'm going to the car to get something. Tank finished and bolted out into the rain, diving into the car. Chloe looked puzzled. What's up with him? It wasn't like he hadn't given gifts before. Why was he acting so weird today? Is it some special surprise gift? She recalled what Tank had just said and his nervous, embarrassed expression. Suddenly, she blushed. Wait, is Tank using this chance to give me a gift and confess his feelings? Oh my God, I'm not psychologically prepared. But Tank is a great guy. Should I just say yes? Holy cow, does this mean I'm finally getting off the singles market? Ha ha. Chloe felt her face heat up and her heart race, but the corners of her mouth lifted uncontrollably. She was a straightforward girl. If she was going to date, she'd do it cleanly. If they were going to date, then let's date. Hey, I need to find his little secret. What could it be? Chloe turned and crawled deeper into the tent, starting her search. Meanwhile, inside Mercedes, Tank clutched his chest as he listened to the music. His heart had almost jumped out his throat just now. He had never been this nervous, not even when talking business with CEOs. Truly a novel experience. Click. Suddenly, the door opened, and Ethan jumped into the passenger seat. Ford, Tank started to share his inner joy, but was cut off. Stop. Tank, listen to me. Did you tell Chloe? Ethan asked urgently. Yeah, Ford. I said exactly what you taught me. Ha. Tank laughed excitedly. Ethan slapped his forehead. It's over. You're done for. Tank looked confused. Ford, what's over? How am I done for? Ethan held up the blue and white box, the lipstick Tank had bought. Look at this, you idiot. Your stuff is right here. Tank was instantly dumbfounded. Holy SHD. How is it here? I clearly remember putting it in the gift box. Ethan rolled his eyes, anxious. That's exactly what I want to ask you. If the gift you were sending is here, then what exactly did you put in that gift box? Did you look at it? Tank shook his head blankly. No, I didn't look closely, but I clearly remember. It was this thing, but I already put it in the gift box. Ford, how did the gift end up with you? Ethan rubbed his temples. Grace found this. Whatever you put in there wasn't this. Did you happen to put my stuff in there? My stuff is missing. Ford, what? What stuff? Tank asked, bewildered. Ethan enunciated every word. Men's. Special. Raincoats. Tank felt like he'd been struck by lightning. His brain buzzed and went blank. Then, only one word echoed in his mind. Raincoats. A feeling of imminent social death, a desire to burrow into the earth, surged up. Holy SHD. It's over. I just told Chloe. If she sees that, I'm dead. Tank sucked in a cold breath, clutching his head in despair. In that instant, he felt his world collapsing. If Chloe misunderstood, how could he ever face her again? While his brain was short-circuiting, Ethan smacked him on the head to snap him out of it. This isn't the time to space out. Go see if she's found it yet. If she hasn't, there's still a chance to fix it. Ethan urged. All right. Get the thing back first. Tank reacted. He prayed silently. Chloe, please don't find it so fast. Please don't open it. Tank burst out the door and sprinted back. Meanwhile, Chloe searched around and finally found the gift box in a raised corner of the tent. The exquisite pink gift box was tied with a bow. She just had to lift the lid to see what was inside. Sneaky, hiding the gift here. Made me search for ages, Chloe pouted, but her eyes were full of delight. What is it? So curious. She didn't know what Tank would give her. This feeling of needing to lift a lid to reveal the truth was thrilling. She slowly lifted the lid, leaning in with anticipation to look inside. When she saw the gift in the box, her whole body froze. She stared wide-eyed, looking at the gift in disbelief. It's this. Oh my God. Tank actually gave me this? What does this mean? Chloe looked shocked and bewildered. The gift box slipped from her hand and tipped over, and a blue and white box slid out. This blue and white box also had English on it, and not just English, but a number. 003mm. Chloe might have been innocent, but she wasn't ignorant. She knew exactly what this was. But what shocked her was why Tank would give her this. Why? Does it have some hidden metaphor? She recalled Tank's words just now, those strange words. A secret. I want to use it for you, or help you use it. Huh. A lightning bolt flashed through Chloe's mind. Her cheeks flushed red all the way to her neck like a ripe apple. She picked up the raincoat box from the floor, clutching it in her hand to examine it. Chloe, wait, don't look. Tank suddenly ripped open the tent flap and barged in, soaking wet. But when he saw the box clutched in Chloe's hand, he was utterly destroyed by the thunderbolt. He stood frozen in place. Total social death. Ideally, social death would knock politely, but this kicked the door down. He was dead and buried. Only one word remained in his heart. Doomed. An extremely awkward atmosphere permeated the tent, enveloping the two of them. In the moment their eyes met, Tank felt like centuries had passed. Chloe, Tank opened his mouth, wanting to explain something, but his brain was offline. He didn't know where to start. This is the gift you wanted to give me? Chloe asked back, her face red. Yes, well, no. Chloe, it's not what you think. Tank tried frantically to explain, but his tongue was tied in knots. Chloe's face was burning. She clutched the box in her hand and glared at him. You get out first. I haven't thought it through yet. Tank froze. I didn't expect you to be so direct, so bold. I really misjudged you before. But you sure are decisive. You really are a bad boy. Get out, get out. Chloe crawled over, pushed Tank out of the tent, and zipped the flaps shut from the inside. Tank stood at the tent entrance, completely bewildered. What is this situation? Is she angry? Did she accept it? She just called me a bad boy. Then she must be angry. Tank wanted to slap the tent flap and explain, but thinking she might be in a rage, he pulled his hand back. Maybe let her cool down first. Right. Ford said if a girl is angry, never provoke her, or terrible things will happen. An angry girl is a bomb that will blow a man to smithereens. Ford said to comfort a girl, you have to let them calm down first. Then you can talk. Tank sighed heavily and walked away dejectedly. He returned to the car again. Ethan was waiting for him. Well, did you get it back? Ethan asked quickly, but seeing Tank's defeated expression, he knew the situation was grim. Tank shook his head and smiled bitterly. Ford, it's my fault. It's all my fault. It's over. Chloe, she saw it, and she definitely misunderstood me. Ethan was taken aback. Did you explain just now? You could tell her that stuff is mine, and the lipstick is the real gift. You didn't clear it up? Tank said helplessly. I wanted to, but my brain just crashed. The words were on the tip of my tongue, but I couldn't get them out clearly. Ethan laughed helplessly. Tank, rest in peace. Prepare your affairs. If you don't explain immediately, any explanation later sounds fake. You can talk to anyone out there, so why do you lose your voice with the woman you like? Sigh. Now, even if Cupid tied you two together with steel cable, it wouldn't help. Tank was speechless, not knowing what to say. Forget it. God, just destroy me. Night fell, and the rain stopped. Ethan and Tank set up the third tent, which was for Tank. After they finished, Grace came over to call them. Did you guys finish the tent? Come eat. Sausage and rice skillet. Ethan smiled and replied, Grace, we're done. We'll wash up and come over. By the way, come here for a sec. What's up? Grace walked over, puzzled. Ethan pondered for a moment, then asked, Is Chloe okay? She's fine. Totally normal. Why? Why do you ask? Grace eyed the two of them suspiciously. Tank scratched his head, asking hesitantly, She didn't get angry? Go crazy? Show signs of violence? Grace rolled her eyes. What? Do you want her to be angry? You too. Where are you hiding from me? Does it have to do with Chloe? Grace questioned. I swear on the fourth. Absolutely not. Ethan and Tank shouted in unison, both holding up 4 fingers. Swearing on the fourth? Even the 5th won't help. Fine, you won't tell me. I'll ask Chloe myself. Grace huffed and turned away, chin high. Ethan twitched his mouth. Great. I might be sleeping in the car tonight. Tank said apologetically. Ford, want to bunk with me? Ethan. On the other side, Grace ran back to find Chloe. Chloe, hey, nothing happened today, right? Grace whispered in her ear. Chloe blushed, avoiding her gaze. No, nothing. Really nothing? Ford and Tank were acting weird today. I feel like they're hiding something. Could they be pranking us again? Grace rubbed her chin, guessing. Chloe wasn't listening at all. She was arranging dinner. 4 bowls of ordinary sausage rice. 1 bowl had an extra sausage, but the sausage was cut in half. Chloe was arranging that specific bowl. The sausage halves were placed like an equal sign, strictly parallel. Even the sausage slices in the other bowls were lined up neatly. Hey, Chloe, are you listening to me? Grace talked to herself for a while before realizing Chloe wasn't listening. She puffed up her cheeks in annoyance. It's good. The weather's okay. Chloe gave a perfunctory reply and continued fiddling with the bowl in front of her. Grace facepalmed. Chloe, aren't you curious about what those two are up to? Chloe looked at the 4 servings of rice, then suddenly looked at Grace with great seriousness. Grace smiled delightedly. Right, you're curious too, aren't you? But Chloe said solemnly, Grace, I forgot to mix the sauce. I need to go make the sauce right now. Grace! God, what is wrong with everyone today? Am I the only normal person left? Forget it, this princess doesn't care. Chloe rushed to the condiment table to busy herself. 2 or 3 minutes later, she poured the mixed soy sauce over the rice, making it look even more appetizing. Done. She looked at her masterpiece with satisfaction. Just then, Ethan and Tank returned. Wow, smells great. Chloe, you've got skills. Ethan smelled the aroma from afar and praised her. Grace immediately stepped up to claim credit. Ethan, I helped too. Quick, praise me too. You? You helped? With what? Ethan asked, surprised. Of course. I washed the rice, Grace said, as if it were obvious. Ethan. Tank didn't dare make a sound. He stole glances at Chloe out of the corner of his eye. She looked calm, but the calmer she was, the more uneasy Tank felt. What do I do? How do I start? How do I apologize? He was thinking frantically. Suddenly, Chloe distributed the rice to the 4 of them. She placed the bowl with the extra sausage in front of Tank. Wow, Chloe, you gave Tank an extra sausage specially, Grace said enviously. But when Tank saw the sausage was broken in half, his heart went cold. Holy crap, does Chloe want to snap my little sausage? Don't just stare at it. Eat, Chloe said, staring at Tank with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Okay. Chloe, Tank wanted to ask if she was angry, but swallowed the words. Ethan smoothed things over, laughing. Look how much Chloe cares about you. TSK, Tank, shouldn't you devour this bowl to show your appreciation? Hey, since we have good food, let's have a drink together. Ethan planned to ease the awkward tension between Chloe and Tank. Grace raised her hand. I second that. She didn't drink much, but she liked having a little with Ethan. Just sitting together, drinking and chatting, was so cozy. She brought out a 6-pack of beer from the tent and gave one to everyone. The 4 of them sat around the campfire, eating dinner and drinking. Although Ethan tried to liven up the atmosphere, Chloe focused on eating and drinking, only occasionally chiming in. She didn't say much. Tank looked depressed and drank even more. Only beer could solve his sorrows. They drank for over an hour until Ethan couldn't take it anymore. All right. Sitting here is boring. You guys handle your own business. Grace, let's go to the tent and give them some space. Ethan shook his head and pulled Grace away. Once they left, only Chloe and Tank remained. The atmosphere became even more awkward. Tank scratched his head. Using the liquid courage, he gathered his resolve. Chloe, I wanted to say, that was a misunderstanding. Do you believe me? Really? Chloe blushed and glared at him. Still giving me that bowl? I don't believe it. Just. Come find me later. Tank stared blankly as Chloe turned and walked away. He was confused. He felt like Chloe's tone was a little off. Why did she seem a little shy? Meanwhile, in the other tent, Grace grabbed Ethan's hand, asking curiously, Ethan, what is going on? I feel like Tank and Chloe are acting weird. I noticed Chloe seemed really focused on Tank tonight. She was so nice to him, even gave him an extra sausage. And she touched up her makeup. But why were they both so strange tonight? Like they were nervous. Ethan laughed bitterly. Here's the thing. Since the accident had already accidentally happened, there was no point in hiding it. He explained the whole sequence of events to Grace. After hearing it, Grace covered her mouth in shock. So that's it. The lipstick was the real gift, and he accidentally gave Chloe a box of raincoats. Oh my God, no wonder. I said the vibe was awkward. Ethan sighed, taking a sip of his drink. So, yeah, I figured I'd give them space and time to talk it out. Apologize where needed, explain clearly. My guess is Tank and Chloe might be done for her. But Grace had a strange look on her face. She chuckled softly. Ethan, that's not necessarily true. She's Chloe Jones. What do you mean? Ethan asked, surprised. Grace leaned in and whispered a few things in Ethan's ear. After speaking, her own face turned red. Holy crap, no way. Chloe is that wild in private? Grace nodded, blushing. She pouted so some girls, when they start driving, leave men in the dust. Ethan paused. He hadn't expected Chloe to hide that side of herself. Probably only showed it in the girls' dorm. But thinking about her behavior tonight, it suddenly made sense. So that means Chloe might actually think Tank gave that to her for that purpose? Grace giggled. Look, they go on dates all the time, dinner, shopping. If Chloe didn't like him, would she agree to that? I could tell early on that Chloe isn't a tank. My intuition is very accurate. Ethan suddenly gave a wicked grin. Then tonight, isn't Tank in danger? Tank, buddy, take care of yourself. The night was deep. Tank had downed half a six-pack by himself. He wasn't drunk, but the buzz was there. He wanted to use the alcohol to apologize to Chloe, to explain everything thoroughly. He couldn't be a coward anymore. Even if Chloe castrated him, he accepted it. Tank took a deep breath and walked straight to Chloe's tent on the other side of the clearing. At the tent, he hesitated for a moment, then patted the fabric. Chloe, it's me. I have something to say to you. I want to apologize. Tank said solemnly. Come. Chloe's voice came from inside, sounding slightly excited. Tank paused. What's the situation? Perplexed, he unzipped the tent and crawled in. The tent wasn't big, just enough for two adults to lie flat. Tank was a big guy, so it felt cramped as soon as he entered. But when he saw Chloe smiling at him, not looking angry at all, but rather faintly excited, it seemed like the look of a hunter eyeing prey that was about to be caught. Chloe, are you okay? Tank blinked. Chloe didn't speak. Instead, she reached past him to zip the tent flaps shut, sealing them in. She turned back, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear and licking her lips. You're already here. What could be wrong? Actually, I understand your intentions. Tank, I just have one question. Do you like me? Tank's face flushed red, but with the alcohol, he admitted it openly. Yes, Chloe, I like you. He figured since he was here, he might as well break the window. Live or die. He didn't care anymore. Chloe suddenly leaned in, wrapping her arms around his neck, blushing as she smiled. You big dummy. Actually, I like you too. Buzz. Tank's mind went blank. He hadn't expected Chloe to be so direct, and at such close range. Tank was so excited he couldn't speak. Chloe pressed a long, slender finger to his lips. Shoo, you don't need to say anything else. Tonight, you belong to me. As the flashlight in the tent clicked off, an invisible fire of dry wood meeting a spark began to roar. The next morning, the clouds dispersed, and rays of golden light pierced through, landing on the flowing river. Cargo ships sailed across the shimmering water, a picturesque scene. Ethan crawled out of his tent with dark circles under his eyes. He checked his watch. It was already 10:00 a.m. He was starving. Morning, Ford. Tank walked over, face glowing with spring breeze, holding a chicken. Nothing good about it. Ethan rolled his eyes at him. What's wrong? Didn't sleep well? Tank asked, surprised. Ethan flicked him on the forehead, laughing scoldingly. You bastard, asking when you know the answer? If you guys had kept it down a little last night, I wouldn't have been awake all night. Tank smiled awkwardly. I didn't expect it either. Couldn't help it. Ethan rubbed his face to wake himself up. Last night, he and Grace had heard the noise. It wasn't loud, but it wasn't quiet, and occasionally there were louder sounds that kept them both up. He had finally managed to doze off around dawn, but then the noise started up again. So his sleep really only started in the morning, dozing fitfully until 10. All right, where is it? Ethan held out his hand. Where's what? Tank asked, confused. The stuff. Give me back the leftovers. If I let you keep them, I won't sleep tonight either. Hurry up. Ethan urged him with a smile. Tank scratched his head, looking a bit embarrassed. He whispered, sorry, Ford. I accidentally used them all. Ethan, you gotta be kidding me. There were 10 in that box. You used them all. Impressive. Ethan gave him a thumbs up in shock and admiration. Tank, embarrassed by the praise, laughed goofily. No, just average. Ethan twitched his mouth, amazed. And you can still get up this early? You're built different. Tank lifted the chicken in his hand and laughed. I thought I'd make some chicken soup for Chloe, to replenish her strength. Ford, go wash up. There's definitely a share for you. Ethan nodded approvingly. That's more like it. All right, get to it. Call me when it's ready. Ethan shuffled to the car to get his toiletries and started brushing his teeth and washing his face. After a while, Grace walked over, sporting matching dark circles. Morning, Ethan, Grace said listlessly. Morning? Any later, and it'll be lunch, Ethan teased. I didn't want to wake up either. You didn't sleep well either? And you blame me. Plus, you kept me up too, jerk. Grace blushed and glared at him. Morning, Grace. Chloe and Tank walked over, both radiating a healthy glow. Chloe, I'm going to strangle you. Grace bared her teeth and went to pinch her. Chloe ran away, and the two best friends chased each other around. Grace finally caught her and whispered, Nice work, Chloe. You took Tank down just like that last night. Of course. Did you think I'd wait? Chloe put her hands on her hips, posing like a victor. I hereby solemnly announce that this lady has officially left the single life. I have a partner now. Ha ha ha. But she barely laughed a few times before sucking in a cold breath. Although it was exciting, it's still a little sore. Grace blushed and spat. You're bringing that up? Chloe, you're wild. And shameless. Chloe covered her mouth and laughed. Oh, look who's thin-skinned. Not me. If I hadn't restrained myself, Tank wouldn't be walking out of that tent. Tank, who was chopping chicken, suddenly sneezed for no reason. What's going on? Who's talking about me? Why does my back feel cold? Did the temperature drop? He shook his head, puzzled, and continued cooking. Here, Tank, let me help you. Ethan walked over. Nah, Ford, no need. I got this, Tank grinned. Ethan smiled. All right then, I'll prep some sides. As they spoke, his phone rang. Ethan took it out and looked surprised. It was Councilman Arthur Lee calling. Ethan didn't delay for a district official. He answered after 2 rings. Hello, Councilman Lee. Good morning. Ethan greeted first, his tone warm, as if talking to an old friend he hadn't seen in years. Good. Mr. Ford, I'm not disturbing your work, am I? Arthur Lee's laugh came through the phone. No, I'm free right now. I'm glad you called, Ethan said, piling on the smiles. Does the councilman have any special instructions today? Look at you, instructions. I wouldn't dare. I call because there is something, and it's quite important. But for you, it might not be good news. Arthur Lee's voice suddenly dropped, becoming serious. Ethan was surprised. Is it about the West Ford Logistics Park? Project Supervisor James Bowen was personally overseeing this. It should have been greenlit all the way. How could there be a snag? Arthur Lee. Yes. The district and city processes are basically done. Deputy Mayor Bowen asks about it regularly, and things move fast. But we've hit a snag with the land approval. The plot you want is right next to the planned new international airport. But that area was designated last year for the Whitestone International Logistics Park. Trying to carve a piece out of that. The Whitestone District Administration might have some objections. Ethan frowned. Does Deputy Mayor Bowen have any instructions? Arthur Lee was silent for a moment on the other end. The old leader knows, but he's got a headache over it too. There are some internal politics. Hard to explain. The old leader's suggestion is that he hopes you can push this forward yourself. Don't let the project get stuck. Me? Ethan paused, but thinking it over, he sensed the water was deep. If James Bowen couldn't step in, it wasn't because of his rank or jurisdiction. There had to be another reason. What reason or what person could make even Deputy Mayor Bowen hesitate to intervene? That was what shocked and unsettled Ethan. Arthur Lee said gravely, Yes, Mr. Ford, West Ford Group is the primary entity of the project. Some things really are better handled by you guys. To ensure the project proceeds smoothly, I hope you can find time for us to chat about the specifics. Arthur Lee was extending an invitation, and it was a serious matter. Ethan immediately replied, No problem, Councilman. How about tomorrow night? I'll set the place and send you the details later. No problem. I have time tomorrow night. Arthur Lee responded cheerfully. After exchanging pleasantries, they hung up. Ethan held the phone, brows furrowed, calculating. Seeing his solemn expression, Tank got nervous. He whispered, Ford, what happened? Was that Councilman Lee? Ethan nodded, his voice low. The West Ford Logistics Park project. We got trouble. Ford, what kind of trouble? Did the paperwork not go through? Tank asked nervously. Yeah, there's no issue on Deputy Mayor Bowen's side, but Whitestone District is the problem. That land was already zoned for existing plans. Now that we want to carve a piece out, they have objections. It wasn't approved, Ethan explained thoughtfully. What? No way. They blocked our land approval? How is that possible? This project is overseen by Deputy Mayor Bowen. Who would dare? Tank was shocked and confused. Ethan shook his head, smiling bitterly. I don't know the details. It's inconvenient for the deputy mayor to intervene. Councilman Lee implied we need to handle it ourselves. We'll only understand the specifics after we meet Councilman Lee tomorrow night. Tank nodded. Okay, Ford. Should we prepare anything for the meeting tomorrow? Like cigarettes, wine, tea? Ethan patted his shoulder, laughing. You might be used to dealing with business owners, but you're still green when it comes to dealing with people like Councilman Lee. Don't bring cigarettes or wine. Councilman Lee helped us so much. Isn't it rude not to give something? Tank asked, surprised. Ethan shook his head. Dealing with them requires caution. Do you think it's like the old days of pay-to-play politics? Every high position has countless eyes watching. Plus, this is technically our first private talk with a councilman. Don't do that stuff. It might make him uncomfortable. Tomorrow, I'll book the place. You go buy a fountain pen set. Doesn't need to be too expensive, around $100. That's a tool they actually use, and it's low-key. If you give it to him, just say it was a promotional gift from the mall for spending a certain amount. Don't mention the price. Tank realized what Ethan meant by caution. Before knowing the other party's preferences, it was best not to give anything too luxurious or expensive. Let them accept it with peace of mind. Got it. I understand. Tank laughed. As they chatted and simmered the chicken soup, the two girls returned. Tank, is the chicken soup ready? I'm starving. Chloe skipped over and hooked her arm through Tank's. Tank looked at her dotingly. Honey, give it a sec. Another half hour and it'll be done. Okay, my Tank is the best. Mwah. Chloe planted a kiss on Tank's cheek. Ethan teased. Hey, what are you two doing? Putting on a PDA show in public. After breaking through that window, their behavior had become overly intimate. Their relationship was progressing by leaps and bounds. Ethan was genuinely happy to see Tank find someone. Now the guy wouldn't have to complain about being a third wheel. Hey, CEO Ford. What? You have an opinion now? Did you forget how you used to be? Chloe protected Tank like a mother hen. I mean, since we're showing off our love, we should do it together. Ethan laughed. As soon as he finished speaking, he kissed Grace on the cheek. Ethan sneak attack. Grace blushed and chased him and hit him. They played around. Time flew by, and soon it was late afternoon. They saw it was getting late and packed up to head back. Before leaving, the four of them stood in the clearing for a group photo to commemorate the relaxing 2 days. Ethan and Grace returned to their neighborhood after dark, arriving at their respective doors. Ethan, Grace! They held hands tightly, reluctant to part. Let's kiss before we go in. Ethan grinned wickedly, puckering up. Oh, no way. What if someone sees? Grace blushed, pretending to refuse, but leaning in anyway, puckering her lips too. Don't worry, no one's around. Ethan leaned in. They embraced, ready for a goodbye kiss. Suddenly, Ethan's front door opened. 4 figures appeared in the doorway. It was their parents. Ethan and Grace froze on the spot. Under the gaze of the elders, the atmosphere was incredibly awkward. Grace felt like she could dig a basement with her toes. Total social death. So embarrassing. Just trying to be affectionate, and Mom and Dad caught us. Bad Ethan, this is all your fault. Grace turned beet red all the way to her neck and quickly let go of Ethan. Ethan, on the other hand, wasn't nervous at all. The benefits of thick skin. Hey, Dad, Mom, Uncle George, Aunt Lily. You're all here. Ethan turned and laughed dryly. Cough, yes. I was just treating George to dinner. We just finished. You guys. Just got back from playing. Frank Ford looked Ethan over and asked. Hey, yeah. Went out for 2 days to relax. Ethan said honestly. Frank laughed. Then you guys continue. We didn't see anything. Carry on. George, how about we go back inside for some more tea? George Miller nodded cooperatively. No problem. Let's have 2 more pots. Even though his bladder was full from drinking, he wanted to give the young couple some space. Lily Miller swept a strange, excited look over the two of them and silently closed the door. Ethan, see what happened? It's all your fault. I'm going home. Grace was thin-skinned. She quickly dumped the blame on Ethan, turned, and fled to her own house. Bang! With the door closed, Ethan was left alone between the 2 units. Sigh. I always have to bear the burden alone. Ethan shook his head and laughed, turning to enter his house. He could already imagine the scene of the 4 elders starting their interrogation. However, when he entered with the resolve of a martyr, he found the 4 elders waving him off, telling him to go rest in his room and not disturb their discussion on world affairs. And, incidentally, which elementary school their future grandson or granddaughter should attend. Ethan, well, I'm an outsider again. The next evening at 7:00 p.m., Ethan and Tank arrived early at the Grand Chicago Hotel. It was a place with mid-range prices, but a solid reputation as a historic establishment. Ethan's choice not to pick a higher-end venue had its reasons. It wasn't about money. This place suited his relationship with Councilman Arthur Lee. Ethan didn't know Arthur Lee very well. Their last meeting had been in the factory office with James Bowen present, so they hadn't interacted deeply. Strictly speaking, this was their first private dinner meeting. Ethan and Tank waited at the entrance. Ethan checked the time, thinking he should be arriving soon. Sure enough, a black sedan pulled up. Arthur Lee got out of the back seat, arriving exactly on time. Seeing this, Ethan stepped forward with an extended hand. Ha. Councilman Lee, I've been wishing on stars and moons, and finally, you're here. Arthur Lee shook his hand, saying politely, Sorry to keep you waiting, Mr. Ford. No waiting at all. We just got here ourselves. Ethan waved his hand, smiling. Arthur Lee was sharp. He guessed the two had arrived quite early. It was polite talk. How could he not hear it? If anyone else said it, he'd laugh it off. But this young man was valued by the deputy mayor and was the boss of West Ford Group. His words carried weight. Hey, Mr. Ford, don't come so early next time. Makes me look late. Or do you want me to punish myself with 3 drinks? Arthur Lee joked. Making small jokes meant he didn't see Ethan as just anyone. Ethan heard the subtext and quickly said, Oh, Councilman, I wouldn't dare make you punish yourself. Since you've spoken, next time I'll arrive right on the dot. After exchanging pleasantries, Arthur Lee turned to Tank. And this is... Councilman, allow me to introduce Wayne Tang Turner. He's in charge of our subsidiary, West Ford Electronics. He's my right-hand man, Ethan introduced. Good evening, Councilman. I am Wayne Turner. I've heard of you for a long time. In the commercial district, people always give a thumbs up when your name is mentioned. Tank stepped forward to shake hands and introduce himself. Haha, Mr. Turner is too kind. We just serve the people. Doing our duty and getting recognition is just affirmation of the work. Arthur Lee shook his hand warmly. Come, Councilman, please. It's noisy out here. Let's talk in the private room. Ethan gestured. Ethan escorted Arthur Lee in front, with Tank following. The 3 went upstairs to a large private room. With only 3 people, the room felt a bit empty, but Ethan and Arthur Lee's laughter kept it from feeling cold. They sat down, Ethan insisting Arthur Lee take the seat of honor in the center. As soon as they sat, Tank tactfully poured coffee for them and offered cigarettes. His movements were smooth and clean. Arthur Lee noticed it all. He thought to himself that Ethan's man seemed to know the etiquette well, unlike other young people who didn't even know the basics of service. Can't underestimate the people around Mr. Ford. Here, Councilman, try this. How is the hotel's new coffee? Private Reserve Blend. Ethan gestured. This step was to see if Arthur Lee knew and appreciated coffee. Arthur Lee lifted the cup, smelled it first, then took 2 small sips, savoring it carefully. He praised. Not bad. Sweet aftertaste, lingering flavor. You can tell it's high-altitude beans. Maybe not the top-tier Kona Peaberry, but definitely high-grade. Ethan's eyes lit up. Arthur Lee was a coffee lover. He was spot on. Now Ethan had a baseline. Councilman, you're amazing. You tasted it right away. It is indeed a high-altitude blend, good flavor. The Kona Peaberry you mentioned, I happen to have some of the company. I'll have someone send some over for you to try another day. Ethan probed with a smile. No need. That stuff isn't something I can afford to drink. Mr. Ford, I appreciate the thought, but let's skip the gifts. Arthur Lee politely refused, a hint of caution in his eyes. Ethan could see Arthur Lee was a prudent man. Building the relationship would take time. Ahaha. Councilman, you're joking. How about I bring some to your office another day, and we can taste it together? Honestly, the logistics park and the garment factory projects moved so fast thanks to your help. I'm truly grateful, Ethan said with sincere emotion. Arthur Lee smiled. It concerns the livelihoods of thousands of steel mill workers and their families. And the old leader is watching it personally. Naturally, I go all out. No need to say more, Mr. Ford. In Arthur Lee's mind, this was indeed a big deal, or he wouldn't have called Ethan for a private chat. If he handled this perfectly, his merit would be significant, and he'd show his face in front of the old leader. Hearing you say that puts me at ease, Ethan laughed heartily. As they chatted, dishes were served one by one. Basically the hotel's signature dishes. For 3 people, ordering 8 dishes and a soup was clearly too much. Arthur Lee was used to it, but he noticed the dishes seemed to have a bit of extra spice, which surprised him. Does this young man even know my taste preferences? From another angle, Ethan prepared very thoroughly. The 3 began to toast and drink. The wine flowed, and the food was tasted. When they were sufficiently buzzed, Ethan leaned in closer. Councilman, what exactly is the problem with the logistics parkland? Is there someone in Chicago even Deputy Mayor Bowen finds troublesome? Arthur Lee nodded, tapping the table. Mr. Ford, right next to that plot, 3 miles away, is the new international airport. To utilize this transport hub, a Whitestone International Logistics Park was planned next to it. This International Logistics Park is actually a state-level project. This project was handed down from the state to Director Drake of Whitestone District. To change the zoning, you need Director Drake's approval first, then report to the state. Because of Director Drake's connections with the higher-ups, it's inconvenient for the old leader to pressure him personally. You know, it hints at overstepping authority. Although he could say something, Drake could stall with thousands of reasons. The old leader already gave him a heads up, but Drake pushed it up the chain. What can be done? So, the old leader has a headache over this. Thinking it over, he feels a need to fight for it yourself. After all, West Ford Group opening a logistics park there is beneficial to Whitestone District. Arthur Lee spoke very cryptically. An average person might not catch his drift. But Ethan had mixed for years, dealing with all walks of life. He understood immediately. James Bowen couldn't force Drake to approve the land because of Drake's connections and the risk of overstepping. Furthermore, Ethan gathered from Arthur Lee's tone that Drake and Bowen didn't get along. Drake daring to stall Bowen proved that. And Arthur Lee seemed to have his own grievances with Drake. The last part, about the benefit to Whitestone, was likely why Bowen wanted Ethan to push it personally. In most cases, interest can be exchanged. If West Ford Group could talk to Drake and exchange interests, Drake might approve the land. But thinking about it carefully, this wouldn't be easy. Ethan frowned. Could someone who stalls their superior be easy to deal with? Arthur Lee glanced at Ethan, knocked on the table, and whispered a reminder. Mr. Ford, a private tip. Director Drake blocking your project. Might be intentional. Intentional? Councilman, what do you mean? Ethan asked, surprised. Arthur Lee pondered for a moment, tapping the table. I don't deal with Director Drake much, but we're in the same circle. I've heard about his character. People call him an old fox. He's climbed up with connections. His position is solid. Just heard. Mind you, he might not stay in this seat for 3 years before moving up. For someone like him, it's unlikely he'd antagonize my old leader for no reason. There's no benefit in it for him. The project isn't huge. The main point is solving the re-employment of steel workers. Anyone else might give the old leader face and let it pass. But Drake insisting on this. There must be a reason behind it. I made a special trip last time. An old classmate of mine works under him. He mentioned that when Drake first heard about this project, he rejected it immediately. No hositastion. If it wasn't intentional, I really can't imagine why he refused so flatly. Ethan's heart sank. If the guy was deliberately obstructing them, it would be much harder to handle. But he had never met Drake. No gracias. Why this? Arthur Lee asked specifically. Do you and Director Drake know each other from before? Meaning, do you have history? Ethan shook his head seriously. Really don't know him. If I did, I would have gone directly to him. I haven't even seen what he looks like. Oh, is that so? Then you really need to move on this. Without passing Drake's hurdle, the West Ford Logistics Park project might have to choose another location. Arthur Lee said non-committally. He didn't fully trust Ethan's word, but he was advising Ethan to solve the Drake problem so the project wouldn't be affected. Of course, this also concerned his own achievements, so it was important to him. Otherwise, he wouldn't be this involved. Ethan poured him more wine, saying solemnly, Yes, Councilman, you're right. I've never considered changing locations. If we don't do it there, the logistics park loses a huge degree of regional advantage. I will push this project through. I have the resolve. Rest assured. Here, Councilman, I toast to you. Thank you for your care all this time. Arthur Lee clinked glasses with Ethan, smiling. Mr. Ford is too kind. It's all part of the job. Although it's our second meeting, I admire a young talent like you. Stop calling me Councilman. It sounds distant. I'm a good 10 years older than you. Call me Old Lee or Arthur. Ethan quickly stood up, feigning shock. Oh wow, I'm truly flattered. Arthur, come, I toast to you. Ethan's glass was held lower than Lee's. After clinking, he downed his drink first to show respect. Arthur Lee, beaming, finished his glass in one gulp. The dinner was lively. They talked about everything under the sun, calling each other brother. The relationship deepened. Amidst toasts, time slipped to 10 p.m. The three had drunk for 3 hours. Arthur Lee had consumed quite a bit, nearly a liter of liquor between them. He was tipsy and waved his hand to stop. Ethan had his driver, Fred, take Arthur Lee home first. After seeing Arthur Lee off downstairs, Ethan and Tank returned to the private room. The brothers smoked and rested, waiting for Fred to return. Ford, listening to Councilman Lee, this Director Drake seems tough to handle. I don't know what he wants. Tank handed Ethan a cigarette. Ethan lit it, took a drag, and exhaled slowly, his expression grave. If he wants some benefits, that's not hard to handle. I'm afraid he intends to screw us over. Ethan frowned. He dares? Worst case, we change locations. But if he's targeting us, I'll fight him to the end. Tank slammed the table. The alcohol and his fiery temper meant he wouldn't let anyone walk all over him. At least Drake didn't have that right. Ethan shook his head. That's what you say, but unless absolutely necessary, I don't want to give up that land. It's the best location for a logistics park. Nowhere else compares. It concerns the entire state's logistics and delivery business, and future domestic and international business. Securing that land gives us a massive advantage over competitors. Besides, if we don't grab it now, there won't be a chance later. Tank paused. He didn't know why Ethan was so set on the new international airport location. Was the prospect really that good? So Ford, what do you plan to do next? Tank leaned in to ask. Ethan blew a smoke ring, flicked the ash, and pondered. We still have to contact Drake first. But this first contact must be official on the surface. Councilman Lee already agreed to lend us his working group. We'll go find Drake under the name of the West Ford Logistics Park Project Working Group. We're going to knock on his door. Tank asked curiously, Ford, why don't we use West Ford Group's name to meet him privately first? Aren't some things easier to discuss in private? Ethan laughed. Tank, it seems you really haven't dealt much with the system. Tank laughed awkwardly, scratching his head. Really not much. Too many twists and turns. Seems more complex than us businessmen. Of course. You think they're like businessmen, just seeking wealth? Not necessarily. It could be something else. Like power. Ethan chuckled. We've never met Drake. Don't know him at all. Do you think we can just book an appointment like collaborating with another company? No. Without a third-party introduction, people like him won't even see us. Unless they need something from us. They say business is business, but there's a second half. Politics is relationships. Not romantic relationships, but connections. Without connections, even meeting is difficult, let alone talking business. That's why there's a gray profession in society called fixers. They specialize in connecting bosses with the inside. Once the inside is sorted, business sails smoothly. Those fixers get paid handsomely. Tank felt enlightened. No wonder dealing with bosses and officials was different. The methods were much more complex. Ford, I get it. No wonder you want to use the project group's name. Using Councilman Lee's connection, Drake has to see us for work matters. Tank realized the meaning. Ethan patted his shoulder approvingly. Tank, as long as you understand. In 2 days, you and I will go meet this Director Drake. 2 days later, 10:00 a.m. 56, Airport Road, Whitestone District. A Mercedes pulled into the agency's gate and parked in the lot. Ethan and Tank got out, both dressed in formal suits, attire reserved for serious occasions. Following them was a middle-aged man with thick glasses and a balding head. He was smiling, his stout figure reminding one of a laughing Buddha. Mr. Ford, Mr. Turner, it's getting late. Shall we go straight in? The man asked with a gentle smile. Ethan extended a hand politely. Sure, Mr. Dean. After you. Oh my, Mr. Ford, stop being so polite. After you. The man stepped back, gesturing for Ethan to go first with a face full of smiles. Ethan found it amusing. This was Mr. Dean, the head of the Economic Development Office from Arthur Lee's side. There was nothing dignified about him. He was all grease. Mr. Dean was polite to everyone, smiling at everyone. On the way, Ethan chatted with him. The man spoke in sets of rigorous, righteous cliches, slick as oil. Ethan was used to it. Anyone who survived inside this long had some skills. Being smooth was just a required course. All right, let's not stand on ceremony. Let's go together. Ethan waved. The three walked quickly into the building. Ethan confirmed again. Mr. Dean, you really have an appointment with Director Drake, right? Really? 10:30 a.m. Confirmed. In the reception room. Dean nodded affirmatively. Okay, let's go wait in the reception room. Ethan nodded. He knew the rules. For official business, different departments couldn't just barge in. You met in a neutral space first. Only if the matter was important would you move to a private office. Led by a secretary, the three arrived at the reception room. Staff served tea and left. Ethan watched the time ticking away. Soon 10:30 a.m. arrived. No sign of Drake. Ethan frowned. Typically, people arrived early out of politeness. Tank noticed too. Why isn't he here? Mr. Dean, go check. Did Director Drake forget? Let me call the secretary's office. Dean took out his phone and dialed. He asked a question, then laughed a few times, though his smile stiffened. After hanging up, Dean explained, Mr. Ford, they said Director Drake is still busy with some work in his office. Said he can't be disturbed. They don't know when it'll be done. Ethan's eyes flashed with coldness. Just listening to this, he knew it was an excuse. Pure excuse. What did Drake mean by this? Giving me a hazing, pulling rank. Although angry, Ethan was worldly enough to keep his face calm. Okay, I got it. We keep waiting, Ethan said indifferently. The three sat dryly in the reception room as time ticked by. In a blink, 11:00 a.m. passed. Still no Drake. This was past the agreed time. Dean felt embarrassed. He had drunk with Drake a few times, knew him. Plus, he was representing Arthur Lee. Drake doing this seemed disrespectful. He called again, but got the same answer. This, Mr. Ford, maybe Director Drake really has something urgent. Shall we wait a bit longer? Dean asked cautiously, afraid to offend Ethan. No problem. Keep waiting. Ethan shrugged, showing he didn't mind. But Tank's face wasn't so good. Anger was simmering. Tank leaned into Ethan, whispering, "Ford, what does this Drake mean? Leaving us hanging here?" Ethan said calmly, "What else but a power play? No need to get angry. Wait. He will appear." Tank fumed silently, tapping the table, forced to hold his fire and wait with Ethan. Time flashed to 12:00 p.m. Lunchtime for the staff. Dean was fidgeting, preparing to call again. Suddenly, the door opened. The young secretary from before walked in, followed by a middle-aged man in a black windbreaker with slick-back hair and a paunch. This man carried an aura of authority, a leader's air. Ethan stood up and looked. He had seen Drake's photo in the car and recognized him instantly. Director Drake finally arrived. "Ah, Director Drake, hello." Dean's uneasiness vanished, replaced by a warm smile as he stepped forward to shake hands. Drake greeted him with a smile. After a few pleasantries, Dean introduced Ethan and Tank. "This young talent is West Ford Group's president, Ethan Ford, and this is the group's Mr. Turner. Both are top-tier talents. Director, don't let their age fool you. West Ford Group is making quite a name lately." Drake looked Ethan and Tank up and down, his face impassive. "Not cold, not hot. Oh, West Ford Group. I know. Didn't expect the founder to be so young," Drake said with a smile that didn't reach his eyes, his words loaded. Ethan didn't mind, but instinct told him Drake held some malice. Or rather, someone who didn't even say basic pleasantries didn't have good intentions. It wasn't even a good face. "Director Drake, hello. I've heard a lot about you." Ethan stepped forward, extending his hand. Drake shook it casually, then waved his hand. Good? All right, it's getting late. It's lunch hour. You guys have to eat soon. Let's talk business first." Ethan's heart sank. Drake was indeed pulling a power move, arriving at this specific time, then saying they had to eat soon. Heck, quite the attitude. Ethan sneered internally but kept his composure, sitting back down. Dean sat down too. Since it was business, he spoke first. "Haha, Director Drake, I came today mainly for the West Ford Logistics Park project. You know, Deputy Mayor Bowen is urging this. How do you think we should handle the land? We wanted to hear your views." Drake sat in the main seat, steady as a rock. He sipped his tea and said with dissatisfaction, "I don't really have any views. You want to carve a piece of land out for some West Ford Logistics Park. If others find out and want a piece too, what then? If every Tom, Dick, and Harry project comes to me for land, what happens to the Whitestone International Logistics Park the state entrusted to me?" He glanced at Ethan and said indifferently, "I don't think there's anything to discuss here." The atmosphere in the reception room instantly turned awkward. "Mr. Dean hadn't expected Director Drake to be so blunt, refusing to even entertain a discussion. Was there really no room for negotiation? "Director Drake, I understand your concerns regarding this matter, but you also know that Deputy Mayor Bowen is watching this closely," Dean said, feigning a troubled expression. The subtext was clear. Give the Deputy Mayor some face. If Deputy Mayor Bowen asks, I will explain it to him personally. Besides, the state's original zoning plans aren't something that can be changed on a whim. The Deputy Mayor knows this, and I trust he understands. Drake replied indifferently, seemingly immune to any pressure from James Bowen's camp. Dean's expression soured. The negotiation hadn't even started, and they were already being walled off. How was he supposed to report back? Should they just pack up and leave? Dean looked at Ethan Ford, hesitating for a moment before asking, "Mr. Ford, what do you think we should do?" Ethan tapped his fingers on the armrest of his chair and looked directly at Drake. "Director Drake, I really do want to secure that plot of land. To that end, West Ford Group is willing to increase our investment in the Whitestone district. This wouldn't just be for the logistics park, but for other manufacturing sectors as well." Ethan led with his offer, using increased investment as leverage. As the second-in-command of the district overseeing economic development, West Ford Group's investment would be a feather in Drake's cap. Drake asked with a sudden spark of interest, "Oh, and how much do you intend to invest in Whitestone?" "If the land is approved, including the logistics industry and intensive manufacturing, I estimate an investment of no less than $75 million over the next 3 years," Ethan said, giving a rough estimate. For the current economy of Chicago, $75 million was a massive sum, enough to catch the attention of the state government. Drake narrowed his eyes, staring straight ahead, seemingly deep in thought. The reception room fell into a brief silence. No one spoke. Wayne, Tank, Turner watched anxiously from the side, but it wasn't his place to speak in this setting, so he could only listen. After a long pause, Drake spoke again. "I can feel Mr. Ford's sincerity. To be honest, I am moved by this offer. However, I still need to think this over. I'll discuss it with Mr. Ford again later." Drake's words meant his attitude had softened. Dean was overjoyed. As expected, negotiations only worked when there was an exchange of interests. However, it was clear Drake wanted to talk to Ethan alone. Who knew what other transactions might be involved? Dean, well-versed in the unspoken rules of bureaucracy, pretended not to notice. Business projects were just business, and the main goal was profit. Sometimes, money had to pave the way. Without it, you'd run into stone walls like Director Drake. Drake held the power of land approval. He decided who got what. Huh, that's wonderful, Director Drake. Since you and Mr. Ford are on the same page, I believe there will be a perfect solution to this matter. Dean laughed loudly to warm up the atmosphere. Work matters don't need to be rushed. We have plenty of time to chat later. Let's go eat first. You guys can eat at the cafeteria today, my treat. I'll have my secretary show you the way, Drake said with a smile, then stood up to leave. Once Drake left, only the three of them remained in the room. Dean stood up and offered cigarettes to Ethan and Tank. Mr. Ford, $75 million in 3 years. That's no small gesture. I admire your boldness. Dean praised, secretly shocked by Ethan's financial power. Ethan chuckled lightly. It's not that much. My logistics park will need supporting industries in the Whitestone district anyway. It seemed like Director Drake was moved. We have to seize this opportunity, Dean said happily. But Ethan didn't share his enthusiasm. He just forced a smile. The three chatted for a while before heading to lunch. Ethan and Tank ate a little at the cafeteria, then slipped out for a smoke. Ethan, that Drake is impossible to deal with. Given his position, he should at least be polite. Why did he act like he was deliberately giving us the cold shoulder? Tank asked, confused. Ethan took a drag of his cigarette and sneered. He's just posturing. He sets the bar high initially, so he can squeeze out more benefits later. That's probably his game. Is that so? No wonder he was late and threw his weight around. Does he want? Tank rubbed his fingers together, the universal sign for money. Ethan shook his head. I don't know if you want cash yet, but even if he dares to ask, I don't want to give it. Tank, remember this. We are businessmen. Although backroom deals and collusion are common in this country, we don't do that. Remember that. The moment you funnel illicit benefits to them, you're tied to them like grasshoppers on a string. You hand over your weakness, your leverage, to someone else. Building relationships, giving small gifts, that's fine. That could be called personal friendship. But handing over cash? For me, that's a taboo. It's a red line of principle. No one in Westford Group crosses it. Ethan's tone became increasingly stern. Tank felt a chill and immediately responded, Yes, Ethan, I'll remember. But what if Drake really demands it? Ethan snorted coldly. Then we send him to prison. By evening, Director Drake had finished his work and was preparing to go home. His secretary knocked and entered. Director, Ms. Zane is here. Drake paused, sat back down, and waved his hand. All right, let her in. A moment later, the sound of high heels clicked on the floor, and Wendy Zane appeared at the office door. Uncle, I heard that guy named Ford from Westford Group came to see you. Well, does he really want that land? Wendy asked hurriedly, walking quickly up to Drake. Drake stood up, closed the office door, and said sternly, Wendy, why did you come here so recklessly? Do you have no sense of rules? Wendy looked aggrieved. Uncle, I just couldn't help it. That Ford guy got my husband killed. I want to cut him into 1,000 pieces. Drake sat back down and scolded. I know that, but you can't just barge into the government office. Don't do this again. No, there won't be a next time. I know, Uncle, Wendy stammered, standing before him like a child who had made a mistake, head lowered, afraid to speak. Drake's heart softened. He waved his hand. All right, stop sniffling. Sit down. That Ford guy did come personally today. I could tell he wants that land badly. I wasn't planning to give it to him, no matter who asked. But later, I changed my mind. Wendy's eyes widened in shock. What? Uncle, you're planning to give that land to Ford. You said you wouldn't give it to him. Why? Did he give you a lot of money? Does the Haynes family lack money? Drake interrupted her angry outburst. Impudent. What are you saying? Look at where we are. Talking about bribes in the office was a major taboo. Wendy quickly shut her mouth, though her face still showed her displeasure. Drake huffed. Your temper is still so rash. Let me finish. Denying him the land is easy for me. Even Deputy Mayor Bowen can't pressure me. But that won't cause much impact on Westford Group. At worst, they just find another plot of land. If we just do that, do you think you can avenge your husband? To take him down, we have to use other means. Drake took out a cigarette, lit it, the fat on his face trembling slightly as a sinister gleam flashed in his eyes. He lowered his voice. If you don't give the fish some bait, how will it ever take the hook? Uncle, what's your plan? Wendy Zane asked, her excitement returning. Director Drake exhaled a plume of smoke and smiled. Didn't your father mention a friend recently? That guy Don Tanner? He has a rundown shipyard loaded with hidden debt and wants to offload that ticking time bomb. I was originally thinking of letting Tri-State Marine, a subsidiary of the Chicago Marine Group, pick up the pieces. But now, don't we have a perfect candidate? Over $50 million in hidden debt. That's enough to make West Ford Group choke. The current West Ford Group can't pull out that kind of cash to fill the hole. When that happens, Wendy's eyes lit up with delight. Oh, right. I remember that. Yes, if West Ford Group takes over, it'll be a bomb. She had heard her father, Walter Haynes, mention a boss named Don Tanner who wanted to get rid of his Anchor Point shipyard. The dilapidated shipyard had nothing valuable except its licenses and docks. More importantly, it owed downstream suppliers a fortune, mostly in promissory notes, essentially unpaid debts. Tanner had cooked the books to cover these debts using accounts receivable fraud. He made the company look operationally normal on paper. But in reality, those accounts receivable were uncollectible, non-existent, and ready to be written off at any moment, while the debts to suppliers were very real. This shipyard was an unexploded ordnance waiting to go off. Tanner had approached Walter Haynes, hoping to pay some money to offload the company cheaply to some unlucky fool. Walter had then gone to Drake. If Drake could help offload this mess, there would be a significant kickback involved. Drake was familiar with this game. The best bag holder was usually a state-owned enterprise. Acquire the bad assets, let the taxpayers foot the bill, and the management stays clean while pocketing the benefits. Drake flicked his ash and sneered. That land is my bait. As long as Ford bites, as long as he wants the land, he has to take the shipyard. If he swallows the bait, he'll pay the price. When he looked thrilled. Good, Uncle, that's a great method. But will Ford take the bait? Drake smiled confidently. Today, I not only suppressed his arrogance, but also deliberately left him a glimmer of hope. He was willing to promise a $75 million investment over 3 years just to negotiate. That shows how much he cares about that land. I'll just add a few conditions. Let him acquire Tanner's shipyard for $1 million. That condition is nothing to him. As long as he wants the land, he will sign off on this acquisition. He has to. If he doesn't sign, I won't approve the land. Wendy excitedly ran over to Drake and hugged his arm. Uncle, I'm really counting on you for this. When has our family ever taken a loss in this city? That Ford guy killed my husband. I must make him pay. Drake grunted, leaned back in his chair, and glanced at Wendy. Wendy, we are family. Helping each other is what we do. It's just that sometimes I feel my hands are tied. I've been sitting in this director's seat for 3 years now, stuck in the middle. Wendy instantly understood his meaning and straightened up. Right, Uncle, it's time for you to move up. Don't worry, I'll talk to my dad when I get back and have him pull some strings. Only then did Drake reveal a satisfied smile. That's good. I'll go have a drink with your dad some other day. It's getting late. You should head back first. Okay, Uncle, I won't disturb you then. Call me if anything happens. Wendy nodded happily and took her leave. After Wendy left, Drake finished his cigarette and called in his secretary. Director, what are your instructions? The middle-aged secretary asked respectfully. Drake thought for a moment. Contact Don Tanner. I have something to discuss with him tonight. Also, notify Ethan Ford at West Ford Group. Tell him I have time in 2 days to discuss the logistics park. Privately, if he offers to treat me to dinner, just give me the time and place. I'll be there. The secretary noted everything down in his notebook. Okay, Director. Should I notify Mr. Ford right now? Yeah, give him a call, Drake laughed. Understood, Director. The secretary nodded. After the secretary left, Drake stood up humming a tune, walked to the window, and watched the red sun setting on the horizon, feeling excellent. Ethan Ford, oh Ethan Ford. Of all the people to offend, you had to offend the Haynes family. You deserve to die. I'm just borrowing your head for a bit. Night fell. Ethan Ford drove around the area, planning to take Tank and Mr. Dean somewhere for dinner. Mr. Ford, I feel bad that you have to treat me to dinner when we didn't even get the job done. Dean said politely from the back seat. Ethan glanced at the rearview mirror and smiled. Dean, no need to be polite. We're all on the same side. You've been running around for this project for so long. Treating you to a meal is the least I can do. You wouldn't turn down a small gesture from me, would you? Dean felt at ease hearing this. As expected of a big corporate boss, he thought. He really knows how to talk. Making friends with someone like this can't be wrong. All right then. I guess I'll accept the reward without the merit, haha. Dean laughed. As the three chatted, Ethan's phone suddenly rang. He pulled over to the side of the road. Seeing it was Secretary Luke calling, his mind raced, and he answered immediately. Hello, Secretary Luke. What are the instructions? Oh, I wouldn't dare. Mr. Ford, I'm just passing a message. My director said he happens to be free in 2 days and wants to talk to you about the logistics part project. Is that convenient for you? Luke asked. Ethan raised an eyebrow. Drake wanted to initiate a talk about the project? Privately? Sure, of course, it's convenient. Should I mention it to Mr. Dean? Ethan asked. Asking whether to tell Dean was a subtle way of asking if the meeting was official or off the books. No need to trouble, Mr. Dean. The leadership wants to have a private exchange of ideas first, Luke replied. Ethan instantly understood. He nodded and smiled. All right. Then, 2 days from now in the evening, I'd like to invite Director Drake to the Whitestone Hotel for a chat. I'll book a specific time and private room and notify you. How does that sound? No problem. Since the director said he's free, he'll definitely be there, Luke replied with a laugh. By the way, the director just mentioned he might bring a friend, a businessman as well, Mr. Tanner from Anchor Point Shipyard. He asked me to let you know in advance. Ethan froze at the words Anchor Point Shipyard. That name was familiar. But why would Drake bring a shipyard owner along? There had to be something fishy about it. In his memory, Anchor Point Shipyard wasn't famous for its performance, but for being the center of a major corruption scandal in the city news. Although he didn't know the exact details, the news had run for days, and many people implicated had fallen or been held accountable. It had been a sensation in Chicago at the time. So Ethan had some impression of Anchor Point Shipyard, though not much detail. No problem. It's good to meet more friends, Ethan said without changing his expression. Haha, great. Then it settled. Luke laughed. After exchanging a few pleasantries, they hung up. Ethan, who was that? Director Drake's people? Tang turned his head and asked. Yeah, Secretary Luke. Director Drake wants to talk to us. I set a place for 2 nights from now, and he's bringing a shipyard owner along, Ethan said calmly. Director Drake reaching out proactively. It's probably not a simple matter. Why bring a shipyard owner? Tank asked thoughtfully. Requesting a private meeting meant the other party had demands. Probably money. It doesn't matter. Let them come. I'll investigate that Anchor Point Shipyard myself later, Ethan said non-committally. This didn't feel simple. He had to investigate thoroughly. Ethan, if he wants. Tank started to speak, but Ethan interrupted him with a cough. Ahem, no need to say it. Just keep it in mind. We'll talk about it then. Let's go eat first. Ethan started the car and glanced back. Dean pretended not to hear anything, staring blankly out the window. Tank understood and quickly said, all right, no ruse, no ruse. The three then found an old-school restaurant, Fortune's Bistro, for dinner. At the table, Ethan and Dean spoke freely. After 2 bottles of liquor, they started calling each other brothers. Ethan, my brother, I don't have many skills, but I'm very accurate when it comes to reading people, like hitting a mosquito with a needle. Brother, you are definitely not a fish in a pond. In the future, you will soar into the sky. Dean, flushed with drink, began to stutter slightly. Dean, you flatter me, Ethan said, remaining sober and modest. Dean familiarly draped an arm around Ethan's shoulder, hiccuped, and said seriously, Ethan, hey, I'm not bragging. We didn't get it done today, and I feel bad about that. But I promise you, I will follow up until this project lands. Rest assured, when I do something, I finish it. He was just stating his attitude. Ethan didn't take it entirely as truth, just smiled. Having this attitude was enough. It would make things easier in the future. Ethan smiled, clinked glasses with him, and said, then I'll rely on you in the future, Dean. 2 days later, evening. Night had just fallen. An imported black Toyota sedan sped along the road. Sitting in the back were Director Drake and a buzz-cut, portly older man with eyes so small they looked like mung beans. When he smiled, his eyes seemed to disappear. Director, if this works out tonight, you've really helped me big time. This is a local specialty from my hometown. I brought it especially for you to taste. Just a small token of my appreciation. Please accept it. The old man lifted a fruit gift box from beside the seat. The packaging suggested apples. Haha, Mr. Tanner, you're too polite. But I haven't heard of your hometown growing apples. Drake smiled beamingly, took the box, opened the lid, and peeked inside. The box didn't contain apples. It contained stacks of red $100 bills. Judging by the volume, there was at least $30,000 in there. Drake's eyes lit up instantly upon seeing the contents. Was there anything in the world more beautiful, more moving than this? No, absolutely not. Don Tanner laughed even harder, his eyes vanishing completely. Should be. You've been busy with my affairs for so long, Director. Showing some appreciation is only right. As long as I can sell off this mess, I have plenty more specialties from my hometown. Drake patted the box and smiled confidently. That won't be a problem. You can rest assured on that point, Don. Aye, aye. If Director Drake is handling it, I'm certainly assured. 100% assured. Huh. Tanner laughed politely. Soon, the car slowly pulled into the Whitestone Hotel. It was an old establishment in the district, and there were many guests at the entrance. Boss, director, we're at the Whitestone Hotel. The middle-aged driver stopped the car and turned to the two. Secretary Luke, sitting in the passenger seat, also turned back. Director, Mr. Ford and Mr. Turner from West Ford Group are waiting at the lobby entrance. Drake grunted in acknowledgement, then smiled at Tanner. Let's go. Time to meet those young men. Yes, yes. Tanner nodded repeatedly, then followed Drake out of the car. As soon as they got out, they saw Ethan and Tank walking briskly toward them. Ah, Director Drake, good to see you. Ethan smiled warmly, stepping forward to shake Drake's hand. Drake narrowed his eyes at Ethan and smiled. Hey, Mr. Ford, good to see you. I believe we'll have a very pleasant chat tonight. Ethan nodded sincerely, holding his hand, and said seriously, Of course. Tonight is the first time I'm dining with you, Director Drake. It's my honor. I'm definitely happy. Drake let go and introduced Tanner to Ethan. This is the owner of Anchor Point Shipyard, Don Tanner. Ethan's mouth curled into a peculiar smile as he extended his hand. Haha, welcome, Mr. Tanner. Tanner chuckled. Hello, Mr. Ford. It's an honor to meet a young talent like you. Ethan smiled and said, Knowing you, Mr. Tanner, is my honor as well. Let me introduce my good brother, Wayne Tank Turner. Don Tanner enthusiastically went over to shake hands. Mr. Turner, hello. A striking figure indeed. You look like a general. Tank grinned. Mr. Tanner, you flatter me. After exchanging pleasantries at the door, Ethan, as the host, invited everyone into the hotel. They arrived at the largest private suite, room 888. The room was spacious, larger than a typical living room, with elegant and grand decor. Behind the dining area was a wall of bookshelves. To the left were antiques, and to the right, calligraphy and paintings, giving it a classical atmosphere. Such a room wasn't easily booked by ordinary people. It was reserved for the hotel's highest-level VIP members. Ethan had asked Victor, the Reaper, Vane to pull some strings to secure this, the most luxurious room in the hotel. Just the reservation fee for this room was $4,000, paid up front. Since there were only 5 people for dinner, Ethan had asked the manager to replace the large banquet table with a standard 10-person table, which felt just right. Sometimes, a bigger table wasn't better. It just increased the distance between people. Large tables were only useful for big gatherings of 20 people or more. Come, Director Drake, please sit. Ethan gestured for Drake to take the seat of honor. Drake didn't stand on ceremony. He straightened his clothes and sat comfortably in a main seat. Ethan sat to his right in the host position. Tanner sat on Ethan's other side, followed by Tank and Secretary Luke. Everyone naturally took their seats according to the unspoken hierarchy of the drinking table. At this moment, a beautiful waitress in a Chong Sam walked in, approached Ethan, and asked respectfully, Mr. Ford, shall we serve the dishes now? Yes, serve the dishes, Ethan replied, then turned specifically to ask Drake. Director Drake, what would you like to drink? Whiskey or bourbon? Before eating and drinking, one must ask the guest of honor what they prefer. If they don't specify, the rule is to order everything. This was an important rule of the table. Drake laughed. Since we're so happy today, let's have the hard stuff, haha. Ethan nodded and turned to the waitress with a friendly smile. Miss, please bring 5 bottles of Macallan 25 and 5 bottles of Pappy Van Winkle. Drake's eyes flashed with surprise. 10 bottles for 5 people? Did this guy Ford really dare to call for that much? Was he not afraid of drinking himself under the table? Young people are just young people. Too arrogant. Drake secretly plotted to make Ethan embarrass himself later and kill his spirit. Certainly, Mr. Ford, one moment. The waitress bowed and backed out of the room. Soon, the dishes and alcohol were brought in. Tank made a point of distributing and pouring the liquor for everyone. Before they even started eating, Drake raised his glass. Come, Mr. Ford, let's touch glasses. Good, good. Come, Director, I toast you. Ethan raised his glass. They clinked and downed their drinks in one go. These shot glasses are too small. It's not satisfying enough. Switch to the rocks glasses, Drake said, shaking his head. Ethan smiled calmly. Sure, whatever makes Director Drake happy. He immediately notified the waiter to switch to larger tumblers. 1 glass was a solid double shot or more. 5 glasses would equal a whole bottle. After switching glasses, everyone began to eat, drink, and chat. After a while, Drake smiled and proposed, "Hey, Mr. Ford, don't just drink with me. Why don't you have one with Mr. Tanner too?" Naturally, Ethan stood up to drink with Tanner. "Ha, bottoms up." Tanner laughed loudly. Tank was stunned. This glass was huge, and it was high-proof liquor. Drinking this hard, right after the appetizers? He wanted to stand up and advise against it, but Ethan responded with a hum and downed a glass right there. One glass down, Ethan's face didn't change. He remained as composed as ever. "Haha, great capacity, Mr. Ford. Luke, you should toast Mr. Ford too," Drake said to his secretary. Ethan narrowed his eyes, feeling the pressure from Drake. No wonder they switched to big glasses. They wanted to play this game. "You want to play? I'll play until the end." Ethan poured another full glass without flinching. "Mr. Ford, I toast to you." Luke stood up with his glass. "You're too kind. Cheers," Ethan said calmly. They clinked glasses, and he threw his head back to drink. Ethan had downed 2 large glasses of high-proof liquor in a row, plus the 2 shots with Drake earlier. That was almost a whole bottle down the hatch. "Ethan," Tank started to stand up to intercept, worried about him. "It's fine, eat. Ethan raised a hand to signal Tank to sit down. Drake snorted coldly inside, then clapped and laughed. "Haha, Mr. Ford has an amazing capacity. Come, we're happy today. Let's have another round. You drank a lot just now, so this time I'll finish mine, and you can drink at your own pace, Mr. Ford." "No pressure," Ethan said. No pressure. But who dared to drink at their own pace with him? Ethan continued to fill his glass, clinked with Drake again, and downed it in one go. "Great capacity," Drake praised on the surface, but he was laughing inside. "Have Ford, you're still too young." Within half an hour, Ethan had already finished a bottle of Macallan. Tank watched, suppressing the fire in his heart, his face flushed with anger. Was this a business dinner? This was a hazing. Did Drake have any sincerity at all? Compared to Tank's anger, Ethan appeared unusually calm, chatting and joking as if he didn't care about Drake's aggressive toasting at all. Instead, Ethan started to toast Drake and the other two one by one, cup after cup. "Come, Director Drake, let's have another one. Mr. Tanner, don't leave your glass empty. Let's go. Secretary Luke, come, let's have another." At first, Drake didn't think much of it, but after 2 big glasses, he couldn't handle it anymore and waved his hands to refuse. Tanner was also scared of drinking more and hurriedly shouted, "Then, Mr. Ford, don't drink so fast. Eat first. Eat something to line your stomach." Luke had a good tolerance, but he couldn't handle this pace. After a bottle's worth of liquor, he tried to get up for the restroom and fell flat on his face. Ethan watched, sneering inwardly. "Play with me, and I'll play with you." If they really wanted to drink, he was confident he could put all 3 of them under the table. 3 rounds of drinks, 5 courses of food. The food was mostly eaten, and 7 or 8 bottles were empty. Secretary Luke was already face down on the table. Drake felt the alcohol go in his head. He was about to get drunk. He tapped the table and said, "Mr. Ford, eating this meal today. I also want to talk to you about the West Ford Logistics Park. To be honest, this matter puts me in a very difficult position. Do you really want that land?" Ethan nodded solemnly. "Of course, Director Drake. I really want that land. I hope you can help me out." Drake leaned back in his chair and mused. "It's not that I can't help, but..." Ethan knew hearing this meant conditions were coming. Bringing Don Tanner from Anchor Point Shipyard. What condition was he planning to raise? "But there is something I'd like Mr. Ford to help with. It's about Mr. Tanner here. He has a shipyard he wants to sell to free up some capital for other businesses. His factory is a bit old. Peers look down on it, and he can't find a buyer immediately. I was wondering if Mr. Ford has any interest in the shipping industry." Drake stared intently at Ethan. The implication was clear. If you want the land, it depends on whether you do this favor. Don Tanner immediately chimed in. "Mr. Ford, rest assured, although my shipyard is a bit run down, all the licenses and paperwork are complete. Don't worry about that. If you're interested, I'll have someone send the materials over tomorrow. I'll sell at the fixed asset valuation price, $1 million. That price is fair enough." Ethan didn't rush. He smiled. "Shipping industry. I am interested. West Ford Group does plan to launch shipping operations next year." Hearing this, a strange smile appeared on Drake's face. The little fish has taken the bait. It seemed Ethan was going to agree. Don Tanner was overjoyed. His rotten mess was finally going to have a taker. "That's great, Mr. Ford. You really are a man who does big business." Tanner hurriedly flattered. Ethan raised his hand, interrupting him. "Mr. Tanner, don't rush. Let me finish. Acquiring the shipyard isn't out of the question, But West Ford Group needs to arrange for people to conduct due diligence. And we need to sign a pre-acquisition agreement. The agreement, the subsequent acquisition plan, and the contract will all be drafted by West Ford Group's legal representatives. Mr. Tanner, if you agree to that, the acquisition will naturally happen. Tanner was stunned. He asked in surprise, pre-acquisition agreement? What agreement? Ethan tapped the table and smiled. Of course, it's a pre-acquisition agreement. West Ford Group will conduct due diligence for the acquisition. For such a large sum of money, we have to seek loans from the bank in advance. As the acquirer, the process is very complex, time-consuming, and labor-intensive. Most importantly, it costs money. If the acquisition fails or problems arise, these are losses. These losses might need to be shared. Naturally, we need an agreement to define the rights and responsibilities of both parties. It's very normal. Hearing this, Tanner thought for a moment and asked suspiciously, Mr. Ford, is that all? Ethan shrugged, revealing a harmless smile, and said seriously, Of course, it's just that simple. A look of hesitation crossed Don Tanner's face. He didn't want to miss such a perfect mark, but he had reservations about the pre-acquisition agreement Ethan Ford mentioned. He had been in the shipping game for years and had seen all kinds of people, but he couldn't quite read the young man in front of him. Unable to make up his mind immediately, he turned to look at Director Drake. Drake sat there like a statue in a temple, sipping his water, saying nothing. His attitude clearly meant, figure out yourself. Tanner pondered for a moment longer, then slapped the table. All right, Mr. Ford. In business, we value one word, integrity. Since you've given your word, I have no reason not to sell. Although selling at this price is basically giving it away and it hurts, handing it over to you makes me feel very relieved. I believe you can make Anchor Point Shipyard great. Ethan poured him a drink and laughed. Naturally, if I buy it, I want to make money, right? Come, Mr. Tanner. Oh no, Don. To our cooperation, let's clink one. Tanner had drunk a lot tonight. With the alcohol going to his head and hearing Ethan's affectionate address, he lifted his glass straight away. Come on, Ethan, my brother. Bottoms up. He downed the liquor in one gulp, feeling incredibly refreshed. He, finally getting rid of that damn Anchor Point Shipyard mess. Over $50 million in hidden debt. This stupid kid is going to get crushed to death. After finishing the glass, he stood up, took his drink, walked over to Drake, and whispered in his ear, Director, thanks to you tonight. Drake narrowed his eyes and smiled. Haha, it's nothing. All for business. He was the happiest one to see this bomb land in Ethan's hands. He was just waiting to watch Ethan go bankrupt. The two old foxes exchanged a look and a smile, clinking their glasses. Ethan watched them, the corner of his mouth curling into a cold sneer, then silently ate a peanut. At the end of the banquet, the waiter cleared the wine glasses and brought tea. Ethan personally poured tea for Drake and smiled warmly. Come, Director Drake, have some tea. Director, about the logistics parkland. Drake waved his hand grandly. No problem. I'll have someone prepare the paperwork tomorrow. You understand, I still have to report to the state and apply for changes, but it won't take too long. Once your business deal is done, that'll be the first congratulatory gift. Haha. His meaning was clear. The process could start, but it would only be finalized after Ethan and Tanner successfully completed their transaction. Old fox. Ethan cursed silently, but on the surface, he kept his smile. Then, thank you very much, Director Drake. Rest assured, Don and I are straightforward people. It'll be quick. Drake nodded and smiled. That's good. With Don's matter settled, a stone has been lifted from my heart as well. All right, since everything is settled, let's see how your cooperation goes. That's about it for tonight. I've had a good time drinking. It's getting late, we should head out. The guest of honor had spoken. Ethan pretended to ask them to stay a bit longer, but seeing Drake insist on leaving, he didn't push it. He personally escorted Drake and the other two out of the hotel. At the hotel entrance, they exchanged very enthusiastic farewells. Nice meeting you, had a great time, let's drink again, and all the usual polite cliches. After the pleasantries were over and the cars had left, Ethan and Tank stood at the entrance, watching the taillights fade. Ethan, is Drake really that kind-hearted? Personally setting up this condition just for Don Tanner? They didn't look that close. Tank pointed out bluntly with disdain. Ethan chuckled lightly. Money makes the devil push the mill. No matter how average the relationship, as long as there's money, things get done. Ethan, you mean? Tanner gave Drake a big gift package. Tank speculated. Ethan scoffed. Would someone like Drake be this proactive without a big gift? I wonder if Anchor Point Shipyard is even worth that much. $1 million. That's not a small number. Tank looked worried, feeling this deal might not be worth it. Ethan looked around and whispered, Too many people here. Let's talk back inside. The two returned to the private room and sat in the separated T corner. As soon as Ethan sat down, he felt his head spinning. The cold wind outside must have kicked the alcohol into overdrive. Ethan, are you okay? You drank a lot tonight. That old guy Drake just wanted to suppress you, insisting on switching to big glasses. Tank handed him a cigarette, concerned. Ethan took the cigarette, shook his head to clear it, and said, I'm fine. I drank 2 bottles of yogurt before coming. If we really drank, they wouldn't stand a chance. He lit the cigarette, took a deep drag, and felt the dizziness recede slightly. Let's skip the tea. Drink some honey water. It helps sober you up. Ethan took a jar of honey from his side. Tank got up to pour water and mix it for him. Ethan, coming back to it. Do you really want to buy Anchor Point Shipyard? Tank asked, confused. Ethan sneered. Buy it? Only a ghost would buy that broken shipyard. Huh? Then, just now you. Tank looked up at him in shock. Ethan exhaled smoke and smiled. I only want their shell. There's more than one way to get a company's shell. Acquisition is one, but so is asset for debt or equity for debt. This, without paying. Tank was shocked. Ethan flicked the ash and said coldly, Money? They won't see a single cent. Do you know why Tanner's in such a hurry to sell Anchor Point Shipyard cheap? Tank handed the honey water to him and guessed. Business losses? Wants to liquidate assets. Ethan's face turned cold, and he lowered his voice. That's his bullshit. Ordinary people might fall for it. I asked the security team to investigate the day before yesterday. Anchor Point Shipyard looks okay on paper, but in reality, it owes a massive amount to downstream suppliers. They've been issuing promissory notes, dragging it out. The hidden debt scale might reach 50 to 100 million. Tank was stunned. Holy shit. What? 50 million in debt. Ethan, why didn't you tell me earlier? If I knew, I would never have agreed. That's a bomb. Ethan glanced at him and smiled. Could I tell you beforehand? I was actually worried you'd drink too much and let something slip, making them suspicious. Don't worry, I have a plan. Otherwise, I wouldn't have set up this dinner. And think about it. How could Drake not know about Tanner's shipyard situation? Tank was shaken to his core. Drake must know. Then, using the logistics park land to condition you into buying the shipyard. Letting you take this bomb. Doesn't that mean? Ethan, Drake wants you dead. Tank never imagined the truth behind this was so terrifying. Originally, he thought it was just a normal exchange of interests, each taking what they needed. But in reality, Drake and Tanner wanted to push Ethan into a fire pit, dooming him eternally. Ethan slowly exhaled smoke, then crushed the cigarette in the ashtray, his expression ruthless. That's right, they want me dead. But I'm putting it out there. Whoever wants my life, I'll take theirs first. Late at night, at the government residential complex in the Whitestone district, the Toyota stopped at the entrance. Don Tanner got out first and obsequiously opened the door for Director Drake. Director Drake, thank you so much for tonight. You've worked hard, Tanner said with a fawning smile. Drake straightened his clothes and waved his hand. No need for thanks. You've said it enough in the car. I'm tired of hearing it. If you need anything in the future, just call me directly. Ah, yes. Tanner nodded repeatedly. Oh, Director, don't forget the local specialty I brought you. Tanner handed him the apple box from the car. Drake took it casually and smiled. Haha. All right. I acknowledge your intentions. Tanner leaned in closer and whispered, Director, once the deal is done, I'll send 3 more boxes of specialties to your house. 1 box was $30,000. 3 boxes would be $90,000. A look of delight flashed in Drake's eyes, but he remained calm. I know. I knew making friends with you, Don, was the right choice. Call me the moment the signing is successful. I'll celebrate for you. Tanner understood the implication. Once you sign, pay up immediately. He cursed the old thief inwardly. Done. Rest assured, Director, I will report the good news to you immediately. Tanner responded with a smile. Drake patted his shoulder. All right, it's getting late. Go back and rest early. You got it. Safe walk home, Director. Tanner bowed. Drake carried the gift box toward his home. Once he was a bit further away, he took out his phone and made a call. Hello, Wendy. It's me. Yeah, it's pretty much done. Just wait for the good news from Ford's side. This bomb will definitely blow him to pieces. When the time comes, you can deal with him however you want. Sure, I'll come over for dinner some other day. Drake hung up and sneered. Ethan Ford, count yourself unlucky. Don't blame me for being ruthless. 1 week later noon, Anchor Point Shipyard. Don Tanner and a group of shipyard executives were waiting early at the factory gate. Behind them hung a red banner. Warm welcome to Mr. Ford of West Ford Group for inspection and guidance. Two Audi A6s drove up from the distance and stopped at the shipyard gate. A smile immediately piled up on Tanner's face as he hurried forward. Haha, welcome, Mr. Ford. But the next moment, the car door opened and his smile froze. Because the person stepping out wasn't Ethan Ford. It was a middle-aged man wearing glasses and a suit with a refined and scholarly temperament. Hello, Mr. Tanner. Mr. Ford has other matters today, so he has fully entrusted me to represent West Ford Group in signing with Anchor Point Shipyard. By the way, let me introduce myself. Hello, I'm a legal department manager of West Ford Group. My name is Ross Lawton. With that, Ross Lawton proactively extended his hand for a handshake. Tanner looked Ross over a few times. He seemed amicable enough. Communication should be easy. Although he was surprised Ethan didn't come, it didn't matter. As long as someone from West Ford Group came to sign today, it was fine. Hey, Mr. Lawton, hello. Welcome. Tanner shook his hand enthusiastically. Ross pursed his lips in a slight smile. Mr. Tanner, let's get straight to the process. Today, we'll do a comprehensive financial review. If there are no issues, we can sign. Look, I brought the team. Behind Ross, in addition to the legal department staff, were auditors from the finance department and third-party financial inspectors. Tanner naturally wanted to keep things crisp and sign early to dump this rotten mess. Great, no problem. Mr. Lawton is indeed a man of action. I like it, haha. Please. Tanner led Ross and the group directly to the shipyard conference room. Inside, Tanner very cooperatively brought out various financial materials. He had hired people to cook the books long ago. Even if professional agencies checked, they wouldn't find anything wrong on the surface. The West Ford Group team began busily reviewing the documents. Only Ross Lawton sat aside with his legs crossed, leisurely drinking tea, seemingly uninterested in the proceedings. He looked like he was just there to walk through the motions on Ethan's behalf. Tanner naturally didn't want to miss such an opportunity to curry favor. He proactively went up to chat. Mr. Lawton, is this tea to your liking? I have some top-quality tea here. Would you like to try it? Saying this, Tanner took out a box of tea and opened the lid in front of Ross. Ross glanced inside. Besides the tea leaves, there was a stack of red banknotes. Mr. Tanner, I can't accept your tea, Ross said with a smile, pushing the tea box back. Tanner wanted to insist, but seeing Ross unmoved, he gave up and laughed awkwardly. If Mr. Lawton wants to drink any other tea, just let me know. Ross pushed up his black-framed glasses and smiled strangely. It's fine. No problem. Tanner felt a chill down his spine from that weird stare. Time flew by. West Ford Group's team finished their final due diligence. A finance supervisor reported to Ross. Mr. Lawton, there are no issues with the accounts. Tanner couldn't help but show a delighted smile. Done. Passed. Ross sat up straight and nodded. Good, I understand. Let's start the signing. Mr. Tanner, Mr. Ford instructed that before signing the acquisition agreement, a pre-acquisition agreement needs to be signed. No objections, right? I brought the contracts. Tanner immediately responded. No problem. Absolutely no problem. Ross took out 2 sets of contract materials from his briefcase. Each set was over 30 pages thick. They looked substantial. Tanner's eyes almost popped out seeing the thickness. So thick. Ross handed one of the contracts to Tanner and smiled. Mr. Tanner, this is the acquisition agreement, and the other is the pre-acquisition agreement. Take a look. Of course, you can also have your professional legal team review it. Tanner had always relied on affiliated law firms for business. He solved problems by hiring lawyers when needed. Who would keep a team of lawyers on payroll for no reason? No need. I'll read it myself. Tanner took the pre-acquisition agreement and browsed through it roughly. The further he read, the more speechless he became. The contract was overly detailed, stipulating everything down to the doors, cabinets, and keys after the factory handover. All right, no problems. Let's sign. After roughly browsing and seeing the content he wanted to see, confirming the transaction amount was correct, Tanner didn't bother dragging it out. Getting rid of this mess was the priority. Ross smiled and asked again, Mr. Tanner, are you sure you finished reading? No objections. You recognize all the content of the contract. Recognized? All right, there's so much here, my head hurts just looking at it. Tanner laughed self-deprecatingly. Ross took the contract and sat opposite him, smiling. Since there are no objections, let's sign. Both parties picked up pens to sign and stamp. After the 2 contracts were signed, Tanner secretly breathed a sigh of relief. It's done. The bomb is finally thrown out. Ethan Ford, you're on your own now. After the signing ceremony, Don Tanner made an excuse to leave the office and immediately called Director Drake. Standing in the hallway, he dialed Drake's number. Hello, Director Drake. I've officially signed with West Ford Group today. Huh. Very good. Congratulations, Don. It's all thanks to your help. Don't worry, I'll have someone send the remaining 3 boxes of specialties to your house this afternoon. I know. You're thoughtful. Not at all. Not at all. It's only right. So, the handover process starts now that the signing is done. Yes, the handover officially starts today. It'll probably take 3 to 5 days. Then I wish you a bright future, Don. Hey, thanks to your blessings. After notifying Drake, Tanner felt light all over. He glanced at the dilapidated factory through the window, secretly rejoicing. Anchor Point Shipyard has nothing to do with me anymore. Having West Ford Group as the sucker to take over feels great. Meanwhile, in Director Drake's office, Drake had just put down the phone when he looked up at Ethan Ford, who was sitting opposite him. He smiled. Mr. Ford, you really are a man of your word, huh? He knew Ethan would come to him personally on the day of the signing, waiting for him to fulfill the promise of approving the land. How could I dare neglect the task Director Drake assigned? Ethan put on a smile and stood up to offer him a cigarette. Drake took the cigarette but didn't light it. Instead, he signed his name on a document with his right hand, stamped it, and handed the file to Ethan. Mr. Ford, from now on, you have a stake in the West Ford Logistics Park. This is the approval document. The other copy is for the other departments. I'll have Secretary Luke follow up on the subsequent work. Ethan took the stamped land approval document, the corner of his mouth curling into an imperceptible smile. Thank you very much for your care, Director Drake. Since there's nothing else, I won't disturb your work. I'll head back now. Please, I have some matters to attend to, so I won't see you out, Drake gestured. Ethan nodded, bowed slightly, and exited Drake's office. Watching Ethan leave, Drake sneered. Kid, enjoy your happiness for a few days. You'll be crying soon enough. Taking over Anchor Point Shipyard. You're just waiting to die. Outside, Ethan held the documents and walked quickly out of the building, heading straight to the parking lot where Tank was already waiting by the car. Ethan, how did it go? Did you get it? Tank asked hurriedly upon seeing Ethan. Ethan waved the file folder in his hand and laughed. Got it. Now it's time for us to make our move. Tank, get in the car. We're going back to the company. I'm going to personally detonate this bomb. I want to see who gets blown up by this thing. Let's go. The two got into the Mercedes and drove away from the government office, rushing back to West Ford Group. Back at the company, Ethan called in Henry Payne. In the office, Ethan handed a plan to Henry. Henry, follow the method above. Use an internet cafe's IP to leak the news that Anchor Point Shipyard is being acquired by West Ford Group. There's a list on there. Use a virtual account to send emails and text messages. The target is to notify the suppliers holding Anchor Point Shipyard's promissory notes. Let them know this news. Henry took the file, glanced at it, and his eyes flashed with excitement. He laughed. Hi, Ethan, this idea is brilliant. Tank, smoking a cigarette, laughed. Of course, Ethan's methods are beyond us. Ruthless enough. As long as those suppliers know the news, they'll be terrified their promissory notes will become void. They'll definitely go to Don Tanner to cash out immediately. Once there are too many people, it'll be a run on the bank. TSK, the effect will be explosive, haha. Ethan took a cigarette from the pack, held it in his mouth, and sneered. That's not all. I've already had someone notify Natalie Young at the TV station. She'll light this fuse even brighter for us. Don Tanner and Director Drake want me dead? Then I'll make them die first. 2 days later, Don Tanner arrived at Anchor Point Shipyard as usual, ready to complete the acquisition process. As soon as the process was done and the funds arrived, he would be completely free. In his office, he hummed a tune and fiddled with his tea set, planning to brew a cup. Suddenly, hurried footsteps came from outside the office door, followed by anxious knocking. What's with the banging this early in the morning? Come in. Tanner shouted impatiently. The door burst open, and the shipyard's vice president, Gary, ran in flustered. Mr. Tanner, bad news. Bad news. Mr. Hill brought a group of suppliers, and they've barged into the factory. They're all shouting for you to pay back the money. There are too many of them. We can't stop them. Clang. Tanner was so shocked he dropped his teacup. What? They barged in? How? How did they know? Tanner jumped up, his face instantly turning pale. If this group of suppliers started a riot, it would ruin everything. Quick, tell the security to stop them. Stop everyone and kick them out. Tanner slammed the table and shouted in anger. Gary said bitterly, how can we stop them? Our factory only has 3 old men as security guards. True enough, as soon as he finished speaking, Heavy footsteps sounded outside. Then, a large crowd surged into the office. Many held signs, and some held white banners, all with 2 words, repay money. Fuck, Don Tanner really is here. You son of a bitch. Tanner, pay us back. Screw you. I don't want promissory notes, I want cash. You deadbeat. Trying to sell the factory and renege on the debt. Huh? Fuck you. Pay up. Over 50 people swarmed into the office, surrounding Tanner so tightly there was no escape. The room was as noisy as a boiling pot of water. Tanner turned pale, hiding behind his desk, trembling as he was shoved and pulled by the creditors. Stop. Quiet down. Everyone quiet down. Give me just a little more time, okay? Tanner screamed at the top of his lungs, trying to calm the crowd. But these people knew Tanner was selling the factory without telling them. How could they believe him? Bullshit. Go lie to a ghost. Days turn into days, months into months. I've been holding your notes for a year without cashing out. Fuck, yeah, treating us like suckers. Fuck you. If you don't pay today, I'll tear this factory down. Damn it, forget tearing down the factory. Tanner, if you don't get the money out, our boss is going to tear your bones apart. Fuck. The crowd was furious, emotions surging. No one believed his words anymore. They all forced him to pay up on the spot. At this moment, a group of reporters with cameras rushed into the office, snapping photos of the chaos wildly. Natalie Young took her microphone to the suppliers and spoke seriously. Viewers, we have followed the suppliers of Anchor Point Shipyard into the facility. We have finally met the shipyard owner. We hope he can provide a reasonable and fair solution today. Our media will continue to track this report and fight for the suppliers to recover their funds. Being shoved around, Tanner saw the reporters barge in and felt his heart go cold. It's over. If this got reported, Anchor Point Shipyard would never sell. You, stop. We'll let you film. Turn it off. No reporting. Tanner rushed over like a madman to snatch the cameraman's equipment. But with over 50 suppliers there, how could they let him? They blocked the cameraman, preventing Tanner from getting through. By now, Tanner's eyes were bloodshot. Like a crazed beast, he screamed at the crowd. Fuck. Move. If you kill me, you won't get a single cent. Fuck. Everyone get the fuck out my way. The crowd was enraged. Some people started rolling up their sleeves, preparing to beat him to death. Suddenly, another group of people burst in through the door, all wearing black suits. Leading them was Ross Lawton. Everyone quiet down. Can I say a few words first? Ross's gentle voice sounded seemingly out of place in the noise. The suppliers turned to look at him in surprise. Seeing Ross and his people dressed formally with a strong presence, the room quieted down slightly. Seeing Ross, Tanner thought he was there to help and hurriedly stepped forward. Mr. Lawton, listen to my explanation. Listen to me first, He didn't finish before Ross raised a hand to interrupt him. Hey, Mr. Tanner, no need for words. The situation is quite clear, isn't it? Ross pushed up his glasses and spoke in a cold tone. Anchor Point Shipyard owes such massive hidden debts and deliberately concealed them from West Ford Group. This constitutes a major breach of contract. Now, representing West Ford Group, I formally sue you for breach of contract, violating Article 8, Clause 52 of the pre-acquisition agreement. Anchor Point Shipyard must compensate West Ford Group for all preliminary costs prepared for the acquisition, and according to the contract, prioritize the fulfillment of debt repayment agreements. Mr. Tanner, you will bear all legal responsibilities for the failure of this acquisition. Hearing this, Tanner felt like he had been struck by lightning. He stood frozen on the spot. There's such a clause? No, Mr. Lawton, please give me a chance. Let me explain. Mr. Lawton, pale-faced, Tanner grabbed Ross's arm and begged bitterly. Ross lifted his arm, shaking off Tanner's hand, then smiled. Mr. Tanner, from now on, don't call me Mr. Lawton. Please call me plaintiff. Starting now, I am the plaintiff, and you are the defendant. Oh, right? You're the defendant for all these people, too. Ross Lawton shrugged and smiled. Don Tanner was dumbfounded. He hadn't expected Ross to be so decisive, so venomous. Looking at Ross's indifferent face, a lightning bolt suddenly flashed through his mind. A terrifying thought emerged. Lawton, you set me up. You fucking set me up on purpose. In that instant, he realized it. From the moment Ethan Ford agreed to sign, they had been setting a trap for him. Ross smiled. Mr. Tanner, watch your words. Otherwise, I'll add a defamation suit to the list. Ross Lawton, fuck you. Is it Ford? Is Ford trying to screw me? Tanner flew into a rage, grabbing Ross by the collar and questioning him viciously. But the next moment, the West Ford security personnel behind Ross rushed up, firmly controlling his hands and lifting him up. Let go of me. Let go of me. Ethan Ford. Ross Lawton. I'm going to kill you. Fuck. Tanner struggled desperately, like a trapped beast going mad, glaring at Ross as if he wanted to eat his flesh. Ross straightened his suit and said calmly, very good. It looks like you won't be coming out of prison in this lifetime. Don Tanner, I'll tell you just one thing. You reap what you sow. Spend the rest of your life enjoying your retirement inside. Despair and fear flowed into Tanner's eyes. This West Ford Group lawyer was a devil. A devil. He struggled with all his might and screamed, Ross. No, Mr. Lawton. Let's talk nicely. You. Give me another chance. Amid the flashing lights of the reporters' cameras, 2 uniformed police officers walked over. Don Tanner, you're suspected of a series of economic crimes and contract fraud. Come with us. The West Ford security staff let go. Tanner slumped to the ground, his eyes full of despair and defeat. Watching the silver handcuffs being placed on his wrists, Tanner felt like he had fallen into an ice cave. It was over. Everything was over. Meanwhile, at the government offices in the Whitestone district, in Director Drake's office, Drake was busy working at his desk when there was a knock at the door. Come in, Drake shouted without looking up. Secretary Luke pushed open the door and rushed in, looking flustered. Director, something happened. Something big happened. Hearing this, Drake finally looked up, annoyed. What are you panicking for? With me here, what big thing could happen? Speak. Luke looked back at the door, then walked behind the desk to Drake's side and whispered a few words in his ear. Bam! Drake slammed the table and stood up, shocked. What? What did you say? Don Tanner was arrested? Luke hurriedly lowered his voice. Yes, I just got the news. Anchor Point Shipyard was swarmed by creditors, and West Ford Group sued them for a major breach of contract. West Ford is seeking accountability from Tanner. The police detained him on the spot to prevent him from fleeing. Drake was completely stunned. He hadn't expected that in just 2 short days, Don Tanner would go down like this. West Ford Group. West Ford Group. It must be that kid Ford. Drake slammed the table furiously, feeling like he'd been severely played by Ethan. To think he, who had played the political game for so many years, would be outmaneuvered by a little brat. It was infuriating. He was so angry he almost vomited blood. A wave of rage erupted like a volcano. Director, now that this has happened, what should we do? Secretary Luke asked urgently. He was truly panicked. He had followed Drake for so many years and knew many of Drake's dirty secrets. If Tanner went down, it would inevitably drag Drake down. And if Drake fell, he would definitely be finished too. Drake paced back and forth, trying to suppress his anger and think calmly. The key now was that Tanner couldn't talk. At the very least, he couldn't drag Drake into it. Only that kid Ford could solve this. As long as Ford was willing to talk, they could get Tanner out first and settle the rest later. Thinking of this, Drake immediately dialed Ethan's number. Hello, Mr. Ford. This is Director Drake. Ethan's lazy voice came from the other end. Oh, Director Drake. What gives me the pleasure? Hearing Ethan's frivolous tone, Drake almost jumped with rage. He took a deep breath, trying his best to suppress the fire in his heart, and asked coldly, Mr. Ford, you're behind Don Tanner's situation, aren't you? Director Drake, I don't know what you're talking about. Who am I behind? Ethan feigned ignorance and sneered. Ethan Ford, I'm telling you, don't be shameless. I'm talking business with you now. Don't play dumb with me. Drake was furious, unable to hold back any longer, and shouted. A low chuckle came from the other end of the phone, a laugh laced with mockery. Drake, you have no right to lecture me. Don't think I don't know anything. Tanner's factory was a bomb, and you try to make me buy it? What was the logic? Trying to screw me? Want me dead? It's just a pity. I'm afraid you won't get your wish. Drake froze, his heart sinking violently. Ethan had actually found out about the shipyard's hidden debt, but now wasn't the time to argue about that. He had to get Tanner out as soon as possible. Mr. Ford, there must be some misunderstanding here. Why don't we sit down and talk properly? You have your people withdraw the charges against Tanner first, and we'll find a place to chat. Drake said in a deep voice. Drake, starting now. We have nothing to talk about. Ethan said coldly. Drake was so angry his heart attacked him. With his status and position, talking nicely to a businessman was already giving face, but this kid Ford was refusing the toast only to drink the forfeit. He slammed the table furiously and cursed. Fuck. Ethan Ford, I'm telling you, this matter must be discussed. I can approve that land for you, and I can also revoke the approval. Ethan Ford, listen clearly. I don't care about your background. In the Whitestone district, I call the shots. You better weigh your words carefully. Secretary Luke, standing by the side, trembled at Drake's furious voice. It was the first time he had seen Drake so enraged, almost losing his reason. But he had to admit, Ethan Ford was not only deep in his schemes, but also ruthless in his methods. Even Drake couldn't outplay him. "Are you mute? Did you hear me?" Drake shouted, even more angrily at the silence on the other end. A moment later, Ethan's cold voice came through again. Drake, didn't you think about who gave you your power? And you dare threaten me?" Ethan Ford, never actively stir up trouble. But if someone wants to screw me, I absolutely won't be afraid. The people who want to screw me will definitely die before I do. I'm telling you, Don Tanner's finished. Next, it's your turn. Beep, beep, beep. The phone hung up directly. Drake listened to the busy tone, dumbfounded. Fuck, that bastard Ford dared to hang up on me. Luke, notify everyone immediately. Revoke the approval for the West Ford Logistics Park. Also, contact the City Bureau for me. I want to see them. No matter what, Tanner must be bailed out. Drake put his hands on his hips, shouting with a face full of rage. Luke shuddered and nodded hurriedly. Yes, Director, I'll go do it right now. Just as he turned around, he suddenly saw the office door pushed open. A group of people in black uniforms appeared in the doorway. Leading them was a middle-aged man with a square face, walking in with a majestic stride and a solemn expression. Why you are? Drake asked in confusion upon seeing this group. But when he saw the badges on their chests, his heart went cold, and his hair stood on end. The square-faced man walked up to him, took out his ID, and said sternly, Director Drake, regarding the Don Tanner case and your personal economic issues, we need you to cooperate with our investigation. Come with us. Director Drake's head buzzed, his mind going completely blank. He stood frozen for a good while before he snapped back to reality. Something huge had really happened. Because of Don Tanner, he might lose everything himself. His face turned instantly pale. What is the meaning of this? Are you saying I have financial problems? Slander. This is pure slander. I want to protest to the higher-ups. Protest, Drake shouted unwillingly. The square-faced man kept a steely expression and said calmly, whether it's slander or not, an investigation will determine that. I hope you won't obstruct our procedures. Take him away. Two officers in black uniforms walked over, grabbed him by each arm, and marched him out. Drake truly panicked this time. He shouted hurriedly, Wait. I need to delegate some work to my secretary. The square-faced man waved his hand, and the two officers stopped and let go. Drake walked quickly to Secretary Luke and whispered, Notify the other departments and Old Man Haynes later. Just say I'm busy with other matters for a while. Tell them to keep an eye on the work and not let things delay because of me. Projects that need to be pushed should continue. Luke naturally understood who Old Man Haynes referred to. The Haynes family. Yes, Director. I understand. Luke nodded heavily. All right, done. Take him away. The square-faced man said deeply. The two officers wanted to grab Drake again, but he shook off their hands. Drake looked miserable. Don't touch me. I can walk myself. Under everyone's gaze, Drake, looking like death warmed over, dragged his heavy body step by step out of the office. The news of Director Drake being taken away for investigation swept through Chicago's political and business circles like a terrifying hurricane that same day. The elite circles were in an uproar, shocked. In the government building, Councilman Arthur Lee hurried back to his office, where Mr. Dean was already waiting for him. Councilman, I heard that Director Drake from Whitestone. Before Dean could finish, Arthur raised a hand to cut him off. I know all about it. Dean, let me ask you, did you know the inside story on this? Arthur stared at him with a serious expression. Councilman, how would I know the inside story? I really don't know anything. Dean feigned innocence, spreading his hands helplessly. Arthur stared straight at him, suddenly slammed the table, and shouted, You don't know? Drake's situation is linked to West Ford Group, and you wouldn't know the inside story? You're still playing dumb with me, huh? I'm telling you, Drake went down because of Don Tanner from Anchor Point Shipyard. And word is that shipyard was about to be acquired by West Ford Group. Would West Ford Group propose to acquire a shipyard for no reason, and then sue Anchor Point Shipyard for no reason? West Ford wanted that land. Did Drake propose that West Ford acquire the shipyard? Speak. Facing such severe questioning, Dean trembled in fear. But having mixed in the system for so long, he knew what should be said and what shouldn't. I really don't know. I was just following up on the West Ford Logistics Park project recently. How would I know what Director Drake and Mr. Ford discussed? Councilman, I really don't know. Dean insisted he was clueless, assuming ignorance was the safest bet. Sometimes, knowing more was dangerous. Arthur snorted coldly, pacing back and forth with his hands behind his back. Fine, I'll assume you didn't know. But do you think I don't know anything? Anchor Point Shipyard's debt blew up. If West Ford Group had taken over, they would have lost everything. If it was Drake who made Ethan Ford take it over. Heck, now you know why Drake went in, right? Dean thought about it carefully, and cold sweat instantly broke out on his back. That meant the person who orchestrated the whole thing, taking down Tanner and Drake, was Ethan Ford. What ruthless methods! What a vicious young man. He gritted his teeth and lowered his head, still saying nothing. As long as he pretended not to know, he would be safe. I wasn't clear on why Director Drake was being investigated either. I only realized something happened after hearing colleagues in the department talking. Councilman, what I said is true, Dean said earnestly. Arthur waved his hand and huffed. Then I told you to help West Ford Group with the process and report any issues promptly, especially to communicate more with Mr. Ford. You failed to grasp such a big event. I'm truly disappointed in you. But forget it. If you didn't know, I won't blame you. From now on, remember to cooperate fully with Mr. Ford to push the logistics park project forward smoothly. Don't let any mishaps occur. Report any situation to me immediately. Yes, Councilman. I understand. I will definitely cooperate actively with Mr. Ford and report actively. Dean wiped the cold sweat from his forehead secretly. Arthur stood by the window with his hands behind his back, his expression grave, murmuring, Chicago has produced an Ethan Ford. He's about to turn the sky upside down. He knew very well that bringing down a district director was absolutely Ethan's handiwork. Dealing with such a young man required a healthy dose of respect. In the afternoon, at the city administration building, Deputy Mayor James Bowen had just woken up from his nap and washed his face with cold water, preparing to continue his work. At this moment, his secretary, Ben, knocked and entered with a file. Deputy Mayor, the preliminary materials on Director Drake are out. Please take a look. Okay. Put it down. Bowen nodded and sat down, but didn't reach for the file. Ben asked confusedly, Deputy Mayor, aren't you going to look at it? Nothing to see. I know exactly what kind of person Drake is. That kid Ethan wouldn't make a mistake. Bowen laughed and shook his head. Ben hesitated for a moment and said, Deputy Mayor, right now the city is full of rumors because of Drake's situation. There's all kinds of talk in the agencies. Some say you were dissatisfied with Drake. I was dissatisfied with him. Nothing more to say. Bowen didn't hide it, speaking directly. It wasn't convenient for me to step in on the West Ford Logistics Park matter. Letting Ethan step in was the right move. Correct. Drake is a black sheep in our team. I wish I could pull them all out. I couldn't do it, and I felt ashamed. Ethan did it, and I'm very gratified. Ben smiled helplessly. You're right, Deputy Mayor. But after this incident, West Ford Group's reputation is going to be extremely loud. Bowen looked up and glared at him. I know what you mean. So what if it's loud? As long as he does business honestly and contributes to the people of Chicago, that's fine. As long as I'm here, no one can touch him. This time I owe him 2 favors. Ben was shocked. He hadn't expected the deputy mayor to protect Ethan so much. It seemed Ethan carried significant weight in the deputy mayor's heart. No. The leader wants to make a show for others to see. He instantly understood Bowen's intent and nodded hurriedly. Yes, Deputy Mayor. I'll talk to the Secretariat later and set a time with Mr. Ford. Evening. Pan Ocean Estates, the Haynes residence. Wendy Zane paced anxiously downstairs in the complex, restless. Suddenly, 5 sedans drove up from the distance and stopped in front of her one by one. A group of men in black suits got out. They opened the door of the Mercedes, and Walter Haynes stepped out, leaning on a cane. Dad, Uncle is in trouble. Wendy rushed forward. Walter looked grim. He said in a deep voice, Enough, I know. Secretary Luke told me everything. Dad, what do we do? Uncle, he has ties to a lot of our family's business. If he goes down, will implicate us. Wendy asked worriedly. Walter walked step by step to her side with his cane and said calmly, Don't worry. He won't implicate the Haynes family. He didn't before, and he certainly won't in the future. Thud. Walter thumped his cane heavily and glared at her. You still don't understand your uncle. But I do. I said he won't. So he won't. Wendy gritted her teeth. But even if he won't talk, what if? What if the police investigated themselves? Walter sighed, his voice raspy. So, he needs to keep his mouth shut. Only by keeping his mouth shut forever will he never betray the Haynes family. Not just for the Haynes family, but for the people above. He only has one path, silence forever. Wendy trembled upon hearing this. In that moment, she truly understood her father's meaning. I'll go see him tomorrow night, Walter said in a hoarse voice, then walked unsteadily into the building lobby. The next night, at 11 p.m., in front of an unfinished building in the yards, a rough neighborhood on the outskirts, a black Mercedes drove up from the distance. The narrow roads had no streetlights, only the car's headlights piercing the darkness. The Mercedes stopped in front of the construction site. A man in a suit got out of the passenger seat and quickly opened the rear door. "Director Drake, we're here." Drake stepped out of the car. His once perfectly slicked back hair was messy, his expression haggard, his eyes devoid of their former luster, lifeless. "Director, the old man is waiting for you upstairs," the suit bowed. No." Drake nodded, dragging his exhausted body into the nondescript concrete shell. The building had 5 floors. The interior was still filled with construction materials, sand, and gravel. It looked like the main structure was done, but finishing hadn't started. The suit led the way with a flashlight, guiding Drake up the stairs. Soon, Drake climbed to the roof of the 5th floor. The night wind howled on the rooftop. There was only a single construction light, and in its dim yellow glow stood the back of an old man. "You're here." The old man turned around to look at him. "Hello, old man." Drake walked up to Walter Haynes and bowed respectfully. Walter hobbled over to Drake with his cane, patted his shoulder, and whispered, "Drake, you've suffered in there." Drake revealed a desperate smile, looking miserable. "Suffering isn't the issue, it's just my career, it's all over." He had racked his brains to climb up, spent all his life's blood, and took over 20 years to get to this position. The future had been bright. If nothing went wrong, he could have been promoted to the state level. But now, everything seemed to have turned into bubbles and shadows, gone in a single day. Walter patted his shoulder again and comforted him. "A man lives a lifetime. Having had glory is enough. The people at the state level are also concerned about your situation." Drake's expression tightened, and he quickly said seriously, "Old man, I didn't say anything inside. Really, I'm not that kind of person, you know that." Walter smiled with relief. "I know. I didn't misjudge you. It's just that the situation is different now. They went to your house to move things. Luckily, I had everything cleaned up beforehand." Drake's face changed drastically. Someone not only wanted to investigate him, but also wanted to drag the Haynes family out. "Did that kid Ford figure out?" Drake asked in a low voice. "You're the husband of my younger sister. Many people know this." "Naturally, Ford would know too," Walter said calmly. Drake angrily kicked a wooden board on the ground, screaming, "Fuck! Damn Ethan Ford! Old man, I'm not reconciled. I'm not reconciled. My career, my life, all ruined in that kid's hands. I hate him." Walter's eyes were gloomy as he said coldly, "That kid Ford will pay the price sooner or later. Frank died because of him. That counts as new hatred piled on old." Drake clenched his fists and said hatefully, "Old man, Ethan Ford must die. If he doesn't die, the hatred in my heart won't be resolved." Walter looked up at him. After a long while, he sighed deeply. He will. It's just a pity for you. Now the police and those people above have their eyes on you, and they will target me too. You know what to do, right?" Hearing this, Drake's face turned even paler. Stunned for a long time, he gave a miserable smile. "Old man, I understand." He had mentally prepared himself while inside. When he came here tonight, he had actually understood everything. From the moment he fell, his life and death were no longer up to him. Walter sighed mournfully, patted his shoulder, then walked past him, preparing to go downstairs. "Old man, please take care of my wife and child," Drake shouted with a crying tone, not looking back. "Even if you didn't ask, I would do so. Don't worry." Walter walked tremblingly toward the stairwell. The suit supported Walter down the stairs. Downstairs, Walter got into the car, his hands gripping the cane, trembling slightly. "Drive." "Yes, old man." The black Mercedes drove away from the construction site. Just as the vehicle moved a short distance away, a black figure fell from the sky behind the car. Thud! The figure smashed heavily onto the concrete ground, blood splattering. In the dim environment, the blood extended and spread outwards like a spiderweb. The next morning, Ethan arrived at the company early. Taking advantage of the upcoming school break, he wanted to handle matters regarding the West Ford Logistics Park. The logistics park was the first step for West Ford e-commerce self-operated logistics. Doing this well and establishing local warehouses would allow the model to expand to New York, Los Angeles, Houston, and other major coastal and metropolitan cities. With the support of Basic Logistics, this would be West Ford e-commerce's strongest commercial moat. The entire West Ford Logistics Park included warehousing, picking, shipping, and cargo transit integration. It required significant investment in facilities. According to the plan, At least $40 million would need to be invested within 2 years. For such a large investment, Ethan naturally wanted to control it personally and plan the finances according to West Ford Group's funds. Knock, knock, knock. There was a knock at the door. Come in. Ethan stopped typing and looked over. The door opened, and Tank stuck his head in, grinning at Ethan. Ethan, here, so early? Tank, what's up? Something wrong? Ethan asked with a smile. Hey, Ethan, I bought some dim sum from a Golden Peak for you. Want some? Tank carried a bag of breakfast, trotted over to Ethan, and placed the takeout on his desk. Ethan glanced at him and called it out. Soliciting favors without cause usually means you're hiding something or want something. Spit it out, what do you want? Hee, you know me best. I want to take half a day off this afternoon to accompany Chloe to the park. I promised her last time we'd go on the weekend, but I got delayed busy with the logistics park. Tank scratched his head embarrassedly. Ethan laughed dumbly. Tank, you're the CEO of a branch company. Why are you asking me for time off? Go wherever you want. Besides, you need work-life balance. Go have fun with peace of mind. Now that the logistics park paperwork is complete, it's just bidding and construction. Nothing too urgent. Ethan knew perfectly well that Tank never treated himself as a CEO when he was at the group headquarters. He always thought of himself as the deputy from the old days, so he even asked for permission to take leave. Ethan felt this wasn't bad, but it wasn't great either. It made Tank prone to lacking his own initiative. Lacking initiative made it hard to take on greater responsibilities. But he couldn't say much, nor was he in a rush. Tank was still young, after all. Expecting him to be like those professional managers in their 40s or 50s was impossible. It would be asking too much. All right. Thanks, Ethan. Tank laughed happily. Suddenly, the door opened, and Henry Payne rushed in with a newspaper, almost jogging all the way. He ran to Ethan's side, slapped the newspaper down, and gasped for air. Ethan, Drake is dead. Ethan was startled. What did you say? Drake is dead. He snatched the newspaper, saw the headline on the front page, and frowned slightly. The Haynes family really is ruthless. Ethan Ford's gaze was fixed on the headline of the newspaper. Former district director falls to death at construction site. The article was brief, mentioning only that Director Drake had fallen from an unfinished building in the yards late at night due to extreme psychological pressure while under investigation. The official conclusion was suicide. Ethan put down the paper, his expression cold. Suicide? Huh. Drake was a man who clawed his way up for 20 years. Someone like that doesn't just jump because of a little pressure. Henry Payne adjusted his glasses, his face serious. Ethan, this is too convenient. He gets taken in for investigation, and less than 48 hours later, he's dead? It screams of a cleanup job. It's the Haynes family, Ethan said quietly. Walter Haynes, the old man. He's cutting off the tail to save the lizard. Tank, who was munching on a pork bun, stopped chewing. Damn, they killed their own relative? Wasn't Drake married to Walter's sister? In their world, family comes second to survival, Ethan said, standing up and walking to the window. Drake knew too much. If he talked, the Haynes family's shipping empire and all the dirty deals behind it would unravel. So they silenced him, Henry concluded. That means the Haynes family knows we're the ones who triggered this. Ethan turned back, a dangerous glint in his eyes. They knew the moment I went after the shipyard. Wendy Zane already hates me for her husband's death. Now, with Drake gone, the Haynes family will be coming for us with everything they have. Let them come, Tank said, swallowing his food. We took down a director. We can take down a shipping magnate. Ethan smiled faintly. Confidence is good, Tank, but we need to be smart. The Haynes family isn't just a political figure like Drake. They have deep roots in the criminal underworld and the business sector. This isn't just a legal battle anymore. Henry, Ethan instructed, keep monitoring the Haynes family's movements. Watch Anchor Point Shipyard closely. Now that Tanner is in jail and Drake is dead, that shipyard is legally in limbo, but technically, West Ford has a claim for damages. I'm on it, Henry said. Also, Natalie Young called. She wants an exclusive on the shipyard fallout. Give it to her, Ethan said. Keep the heat on. The more public this is, the harder it is for the Haynes family to operate in the shadows. That evening, Deputy Mayor Bowen's residence. It was a modest two-story house in a quiet, older neighborhood. Nothing about it screamed power, which was exactly James Bowen's style. Ethan arrived alone, carrying a simple fruit basket. He knew Bowen didn't like extravagant gifts. Secretary Ben opened the door. Mr. Ford, welcome. The deputy mayor is waiting for you in the study. Thanks, Ben, Ethan said, stepping inside. In the study, James Bowen was practicing calligraphy, a habit he kept to clear his mind. Seeing Ethan enter, he put down his brush. Ethan, come in. Seat. Deputy Mayor. Ethan greeted respectfully. Drop the titles. We're at home. Call me Uncle James if you like, Bowen said with a rare, relaxed smile. I heard about Drake. It was sudden, Ethan said carefully. Bowen sighed, removing his glasses and wiping them. Sudden, yes, but not unexpected. When you walk on the edge of a cliff for too long, eventually the ground gives way. He looked at Ethan with a piercing gaze. You played a dangerous game, Ethan, using the shipyard to trap Tanner, forcing Drake's hand. It was brilliant but risky. They tried to trap me first, Ethan said calmly. I just turned the trap around. I know, Bowen nodded. And frankly, you did the city a favor. Drake was a cancer, but you need to be careful. The Haynes family. Walter Haynes is a relic of a different era. He doesn't play by the rules. I'm prepared, Ethan said. Bowen stood up and walked over to pat Ethan on the shoulder. Good. Just remember, as long as you stay on the right side of the law and continue to build this city's economy, I will support you. The West Ford Logistics Park is crucial for Chicago. Don't let these distractions derail it. I won't let you down, Ethan promised. Good. Now let's eat. My wife made her specialty roast beef. You're in for a treat. A week later, the storm over Drake's death began to settle, but the undercurrents were stronger than ever. At the West Ford Group headquarters, business was booming. The Logistics Park project had officially broken ground, and the scandal with Anchor Point Shipyard had ironically boosted West Ford's reputation as a company that fought against corruption. But Ethan didn't relax. He knew the Haynes family was plotting. One afternoon, Ross Lawton walked into Ethan's office with a thick file. Ethan, we have a situation with the shipyard lawsuit, Ross said, sitting down. What is it? Don Tanner is trying to cut a deal. He claims he was coerced by Drake and Walter Haynes. He's willing to testify about the hidden debts and the fraudulent accounting if we guarantee his safety. Ethan raised an eyebrow. Testify against the Haynes family? Yes. But here's the kicker. Tanner says the Haynes family used Anchor Point Shipyard to smuggle goods. Not just standard smuggling, contraband. Ethan leaned forward. Contraband? High-end electronics, luxury cars, even some rumors of drugs, though he denies knowing about that part. He says the hidden debt was actually money laundered for the Haynes family's operations. Ethan tapped his desk. If this is true, the Haynes family isn't just a local bully. They're a criminal syndicate. Exactly, Ross said. If we use this, we can bury them. But it puts a massive target on our backs. Ethan stood up and looked out at the Chicago skyline. The city looked peaceful, but he knew the darkness hiding in the corners. We're already targets, Ross. Now we just have bigger ammunition. Get Tanner's testimony on record. Secure it. And tell Henry to dig into those smuggling routes. If we strike to kill. Understood, Ross said, standing up. Oh, and one more thing. Wendy Zane was seen meeting with Victor the Reaper of Vane's rival, a guy named Sledge from the south side. Ethan's eyes narrowed. She's hiring muscle. Looks like it. Tell Tank to beef up security. And warn Victor. The war is starting. Ethan watched Ross leave, then turned back to the window. The reflection in the glass showed a young man, but his eyes were old and cold. Walter Haynes, Ethan whispered to the city. Your time is up. Director Drake's body was discovered in the Fongsuan district early this morning. The police have preliminarily ruled it a suicide, though the investigation is ongoing. Ethan, with Drake dead, will this affect our logistics park project? Henry Payne asked, his voice laced with concern. Ethan Ford thought for a moment before replying. There will be some impact. The higher-ups might audit the projects he approved, but the fallout shouldn't be too severe. I'll smooth things over with Deputy Mayor Bowen when the time comes. What I didn't expect was that the Haynes family would discard Drake so decisively. I had planned to use this opportunity to dig up the Haynes family's dirt and eliminate the threat for good. Now that Drake is dead, that chance is likely gone. TSK, like a gecko shedding its tail to survive. Walter Haynes really has the stomach for this. Wayne Tank, Turner was equally shocked by the news. He sat in stunned silence for a long time before asking, Ethan, are you saying this was Walter Haynes's doing? Ethan sneered. If not him, who else could convince a man like Drake to end it? The water in this town runs deeper than we thought. Drake's death had caught Ethan off guard, deepening his wariness of the Haynes family. The shipping king of Chicago, Walter Haynes, was not an opponent to be taken lightly. Ethan, should we keep digging into Don Tanner? Henry asked. Ethan shook his head. Tanner is just a small pawn. He could move Drake, but he can't touch the Haynes family. We need to play the long game on this one. Don't worry too much about these things. I'll ask Victor Vane to keep an eye on that side of things. Next week is the group's annual meeting. I want all subsidiaries to organize their accounts and projects. I need to review them before the assembly. Seeing Ethan so calm, Henry felt a sense of relief wash over him. Ethan was the anchor of the West Ford Group. As long as he was there, everyone felt secure. Got it, Ethan. I'll have everything sorted in the next 2 days, Henry replied. Tank patted his chest and grinned. Don't worry, Ethan. Mission guaranteed. 1 week later, January 21st, 2001. 3 days before the Lunar New Year. At 7 in the morning, Calvin Trent woke up on time, just as he always did, and went through his morning routine. Honey, breakfast is ready, his wife, Joyce Trent, called out from the dining room. Calvin wiped his face and smiled. Coming. He walked into the dining room to find a delicious breakfast waiting for him. Scrambled eggs, sausage links, toast, and a glass of milk. You're the best, Joyce. Calvin walked up behind his wife, hugged her affectionately, and planted a loud kiss on her cheek. Joyce blushed and gave him a playful eye roll. Oh, stop it. What are you doing? We're an old married couple now. Who says old married couples can't show a little affection? Calvin laughed and kissed her cheek again. Joyce turned around, looked him over, and asked curiously, What's got you in such a good mood today? Calvin let go of her and sat down at the table with a chuckle. Because today is the group's annual meeting. After the meeting, we're pretty much on holiday break. Annual meeting? Joyce took off her apron, looking puzzled. Yeah, it's the day all the subsidiaries hand in their report cards, Calvin replied between bites. Joyce's expression turned serious. She sat down next to him and asked with concern, Honey, that company you manage, e-commerce or whatever, are the results good? Honey, you have to work hard. The company treats us so well. Your income now is 10 times what it used to be. Don't disappoint your boss. I heard that a job at the West Ford Group is the hottest ticket in Chicago right now. People are breaking their necks, trying to get in. You have to cherish this. Listening to his wife's nagging, Calvin couldn't help but laugh. Joyce, relax. I'm doing my best. Besides, my performance should be top tier among the subsidiaries. I definitely won't be last. Joyce breathed a sigh of relief. That's good. If you can make a few $100,000 for the boss every year, he definitely won't have any complaints. Calvin's face twitched with a strange expression. He laughed. A few $100,000? Honey, right, I don't talk shop with you much. Let me put it this way. The West Ford Group is huge. Just one of their net cafes makes more than a few $100,000 a year. Try millions. And there are 6 of those cafes in the city. Joyce's jaw dropped. Oh my God, didn't your company just open less than a year ago? I thought it was just a small $1 million operation. Calvin shook his head and smiled. All right. Even if I explained the company details, it would just bore you. He knew his wife cared more about the daily essentials of life than corporate strategy. After breakfast, he put on his formal suit, tied a festive red tie, and left for work brimming with confidence. At 8:30 a.m., Calvin arrived at the office early, as always. But today, many employees had beaten him to it. Morning, Mr. Trent. Good morning, Mr. Trent. Veteran staff greeted him, and Calvin returned their smiles. Calvin, you're here. Perfect. Put your stuff away, and let's go welcome Mr. Ford. Tank said he'll be arriving any minute. Leo Zhang, general manager of West Ford Tech, called out. Sure, let's go together. Let me just drop my bag, Calvin replied, trotting to his office before joining Leo at the main entrance. The West Ford Group occupied the 30th, 31st, and 32nd floors of the Metro Tower in the downtown district. The group's headquarters were on the 30th floor, boasting a spacious and bright lobby. When Calvin and Leo arrived, many mid to high-level executives had already gathered. Tank, Henry, Calvin greeted Wayne Turner and Henry Payne. Haha, Calvin, my man, today is your e-commerce company's time to shine, isn't it? Don't try to hide it, I can guess. You've been crushing it lately, Tank laughed, punching him lightly on the chest, a hint of envy in his voice. Calvin responded modestly, Hey, it's just because we caught the wave, plus the full support from Ethan and everyone else. I've just been doing what I can. It's been chaotic lately. All right, if you're too busy, I can apply to switch places with you. Let me bear that burden. Tank teased. Calvin laughed. Tank, you're always joking. As they chatted, someone at the door suddenly shouted, Mr. Ford is here. Mr. Ford. Everyone instantly turned toward the entrance, lining up in 2 orderly rows, standing at attention. A figure in a sharp black suit appeared. Walking toward them was a young man with handsome features and a warm smile. The tailored suit made him look mature beyond his years, exuding a calm, extraordinary charisma. Behind him followed a large group of West Ford Group employees and West Ford security personnel. Calvin's eyes lit up with a fervent look. The young man before him was the founder and spiritual pillar of the West Ford Group, the idol worshipped by every employee. He was the first to bow slightly and call out, Good morning, Mr. Ford. Good morning, Mr. Ford, the rest shouted in unison, their voices resonating through the lobby. Ethan waved to the crowd, smiling. Morning, everyone. It's rare to have a whole team together like this, huh? Quinn Lane, the group's HR manager, stepped forward and bowed slightly. Mr. Ford, all subsidiary staff and group employees are present. No absences today. Good. Let's convene the senior executive meeting first. Ethan nodded with a smile. Half an hour later, inside the group's main conference room, Ethan sat at the head of the table. The heads and deputies of West Ford Esports, West Ford E-commerce, West Ford Electronics, and West Ford Tech, along with department managers, filled the room. All eyes were focused on Ethan, waiting for him to speak. Ethan scanned the room and smiled. Today is the annual meeting. We'll start with the executive session. Although I've read your financial statements and annual reports, I'd like each subsidiary to give a brief verbal summary so everyone can get up to speed. Let's start with Henry from West Ford Esports. Henry Payne stood up, bowed to Ethan, and spoke seriously. West Ford Esports currently focuses on internet cafe operations. After acquiring Maxim Inc.'s cafes, we operate a total of 6 locations. The 3 largest flagship stores have a combined total of 600 computers. The average monthly revenue per store is $150,000, with a total monthly revenue of $800,000. After deducting operational and personnel costs, the average monthly net profit per store is $45,000. West Ford Esports achieves a total monthly net profit of $270,000. Based on current profitability, West Ford Esports will secure a $4 million loan from the City Development Bank in the first quarter of next year. Combined with our own capital, we will launch an aggressive expansion plan. We aim to secure territories in major cities like New York, Los Angeles, Houston, and Seattle. We plan to invest in 20 large-scale chain locations. We have already secured 5 prime locations in New York and Los Angeles, which will begin operations after the new year. Once these locations stabilize, we plan to invest in another 200 to 300 stores throughout the second, third, and fourth quarters, covering core districts in first and second-tier cities. Henry paused, then declared firmly, by next year, West Ford Esports will be the largest internet cafe chain in the country. Thunderous applause erupted in the conference room. Tank exclaimed excitedly, "Ha, Henry! One word, beast!" Ethan nodded with satisfaction. I read your summary. The goal is clear. The internet cafe business is in its golden age for the next decade. It's an undeniable windfall. As the saying goes, selling shovels is good, but right now, owning the mine is better. Keep pushing expansion. If you run into difficulties, don't worry. Just remember, I'm always behind you, supporting you. Hearing this, Henry felt a surge of emotion. He nodded heavily. Yes, Mr. Ford. Take a seat. Next up is West Ford Electronics, Ethan said, looking at Tank with a smile. Tank shot up, bowed to Ethan, cleared his throat, picked up his file, and spoke loudly. West Ford Electronics currently focuses on computer part sales, custom builds, and after-sales repair services. We have 21 direct sales stores in Chicago and the surrounding suburbs, basically covering the entire metro area. We offer 1-hour delivery and on-site repair, with service quality far exceeding the industry average. The 21 stores achieve an average monthly revenue of $60,000 per store, totaling $2 million monthly. Due to increased costs in personnel and operations to maintain high service quality, the company achieves a monthly net profit of $400,000. To be honest, it's lower than expected. The cost of service is huge, but it has brought West Ford Electronics an excellent brand reputation. I think future growth requires aggressive external expansion. However, to avoid supply bottlenecks, we first need to resolve the agency authorization issues. My focus next year is to solve these supply limits. I need to negotiate with key tech. We can't be limited to just Chicago and the suburbs. Tank scratched his head, looking a bit embarrassed and guilty about the numbers. Ethan smiled and comforted him. No need to blame yourself. These are structural limitations. After the new year, I'll go with you to sort this out. West Ford Electronics has growth potential beyond the big cities. The downstream markets have massive opportunities. With the country entering the WTO, we will act as agents for more foreign products in the future, driving the nationwide adoption of computer equipment and network infrastructure. The market prospects are vast. Focus on building your internal strength. Once the time is right, we take off. Encouraged, Tank relaxed and said gratefully, Yes, Mr. Ford. I'll keep working hard. Ethan looked at Liu Zhang. Next is West Ford Tech. Their business is straightforward. I'm sure everyone here is aware of it. Leo straightened his clothes, stood up immediately, bowed, and said, West Ford Tech's current core businesses are the 361 PC Safety Manager and the development of the Legend of the Dragon and World of Warcraft gaming projects. Monthly value-added service revenue is $1.2 million, achieving a monthly net profit of $700,000. Our future direction is to actively expand the internet ecosystem and complete the loop. The Legend of a Dragon game is nearing the final stages. It will be ready for internal beta testing after the new year. Once it's running, I will transfer the game team and operations to West Ford Esports to strengthen their internal development capabilities. True to his technical background, Leo spoke concisely and directly. Ethan nodded. 361 PC Safety Manager is still in a high-growth phase. Breaking 10 million in revenue, or even 100 million monthly, is attainable next year. As for gaming, I have high hopes for Legend of the Dragon. My expectation is for the gaming business to achieve $100 million in turnover next year, with a net profit of no less than $60 million. This game will be our group's first blockbuster MMO. Do it well. As for World of Warcraft, refine it carefully with West Ford Esports. No ruse. Leo nodded vigorously. Yes, Mr. Ford. Finally, Ethan looked at Calvin Trent. Calvin, your turn. You're the grand finale. Calvin took a deep breath, stood up, bowed, and said, West Ford e-commerce is currently in the direct sales stage, mainly selling computer parts and electronic equipment. Monthly revenue is $9 million, achieving a monthly net profit of $2.5 million. As soon as Calvin finished, a commotion broke out in the conference room. Everyone looked excited and whispered among themselves. West Ford e-commerce really is the fastest growing. Is the era of internet consumption arriving? No wonder e-commerce has always been the group's fist. Calvin is strong. West Ford e-commerce might be the first subsidiary to break $100 million in revenue. Listening to these discussions, a sense of pride and accomplishment welled up in Calvin. I, Calvin Trent, will prove to everyone that even a middle-aged man can have the strongest drive. Mr. Ford, I won't let you down. He calmed his excitement and continued. In the future, following Mr. Ford's plan, West Ford e-commerce will transform into a public platform after the new year. I have already started working on this since the last announcement, building a supplier platform to help tens of thousands of small and medium-sized enterprises across the country sell their products. Next year, the investment costs will be significant. Personnel, servers, technology, platform infrastructure. According to Mr. Ford, next year West Ford e-commerce will not have a net profit target. Instead, the goal is to invest $60 million to establish a payment system and integrate the West Ford logistics system, increasing platform transaction volume, and completing the e-commerce loop. I firmly believe that next year will be the year West Ford e-commerce takes off, and also the inaugural year of e-commerce development in this country. We will become the first and largest online shopping platform in the nation. Thunderous applause erupted again as he finished. As the applause faded, Ethan stood up and addressed the room seriously. In addition to the internet and computer tech industries, next year West Ford Group will enter the logistics industry and physical manufacturing sectors, electronics, apparel, and network infrastructure. We will help improve the nation's logistics standards and electronic information technology. From the internet to manufacturing, no matter how wide the span, our core mission, to be a truly national enterprise, remains unchanged and never will. Today, I am very happy. West Ford Group couldn't have made it this far without everyone's hard work. I believe that in the future, West Ford Group will be the brightest star in the country. But we still have much more to do. Technology strengthens a nation. Industry revitalizes it. West Ford Group must always stay on the road, never resting. For our better lives, for this country, and for the people living on this land, we must continue to struggle. This isn't just grand sentiment. It is simply because I love this land, and I love the people living across this great country. As Ethan's words fell, everyone in the conference room stood up and applauded wildly. Mr. Ford, we are willing to follow you forever. Calvin looked at Ethan and said solemnly, to follow such a leader, what an honor it was. At 9 p.m., Ethan Ford was still in his office, fingers flying across the keyboard as he drafted the operational details for the logistics park. He had been so engrossed that he completely lost track of time. After finishing the document, he let out a long sigh of relief and leaned back into his leather chair, exhausted. Finally done, operating with experience that transcends the era gives us a huge advantage. but it's really going to test the team's execution. Ethan muttered to himself, eyes closed. Starting in 2000, as computers became ubiquitous, the world was stepping into the information age. Every industry was about to undergo a radical digital transformation. With the power of information technology, the production, manufacturing, and circulation of goods would reach unprecedented heights. The tone Ethan set for the logistics park and Westford Logistics was immediate digitalization, automated warehousing systems, logistics tracking, and distribution systems. From the moment it launched, it had to be world-class. Knock, knock, knock. A knock on the door broke Ethan's train of thought. Come in, Ethan said, massaging his throbbing temples without opening his eyes. The door opened, followed by the sound of light footsteps. Ethan, you stink. Still working this late? A crisp, sweet voice rang out. Ethan opened his eyes to see a beautiful figure standing there. Her sweet smile was healing. It seemed to sweep away the day's fatigue in an instant. Grace? What are you doing here? Ethan sat up straight, staring at her. Grace Miller pouted, hands behind her back, and walked over to his side to massage his shoulders. I missed you, stinky Ethan. Did you miss me? She spoke in a tone like a purring kitten, enough to turn anyone's bones to jelly. Ethan laughed. Let me think about it. Grace glared daggers at him. Ow, ow. It hurts. Grace Miller, are you trying to disassemble my skeleton? That's what you get for thinking about it. Lady, can you let go first? Nope. Ethan suddenly spun his chair around, grabbed her hands, and pulled her into his lap. Little Grace, looks like you want to start a war. Grace struggled symbolically in his arms, blushing as she asked, what war? The war between a man and a woman, of course. No change of venue needed. Ethan teased. Grace's face turned crimson. She glared at him. Mr. Ford, we're getting bolder and bolder. Simply audacious. With that, Grace broke free from his embrace, acting all high and mighty like a queen. Besides, you're no match for me. Ethan. Grace Miller, I'm warning you, don't underestimate people. Tonight, I'll show you the error of your ways. Grace blushed to the roots of her neck, huffed, and said, I don't even want to talk to you. If I knew you didn't miss me, I wouldn't have come. Forget it, I'm going home. She turned on her heel to leave. One rocket pop. Ethan smiled, holding up a finger. Grace didn't stop walking. Two. Ethan held up 2 fingers. That's more like it. Grace stopped, turned around, and flashed a brilliant smile. Ethan stood up, laughing. All right, quit playing hard to get. It's getting late. Let's go grab a late-night snack and head back. After all, we have important business to attend to. Grace skipped over to Ethan, linked her arm through his, and smiled sweetly. Let's go then, Mr. Ford. Snack's time. They went downstairs. The streets were brightly lit, but because of the chilly night air, there weren't many pedestrians. Grace held onto his arm as they strolled through the quiet night streets. Walking the streets at night is so nice it'd be even better if it were summer, Grace said happily, looking at the distant city lights. She didn't ask for much in life. As long as Ethan was by her side, she was content. The moment was quiet, beautiful, almost dreamlike. She turned to look at Ethan's profile and couldn't resist reaching out to pinch his cheek. Ha, mister. Ford's skin really is thick. Ouch, Grace, what are you doing? Ethan grimaced, rubbing his face and looking at her in confusion. Grace giggled. Nothing. Just wanted to pinch your face to see if I'm dreaming. Ethan. Then pinch yourself. Why pinch me? Because pinching myself would hurt. Grace Miller, you make so much sense. I am speechless. Come on, let's hurry. My stomach is growling. Grace pulled Ethan along, quickening their pace until they reached a night market street behind the Metro Commercial District. There were still very few people, making it look a bit deserted. Why are there so few people tonight? Grace looked around, puzzled. Ethan pinched her cute little nose and smiled. Silly, it's almost the new year. Students are on break. Most people probably went back to their hometowns. Oh, right. Ethan, are you planning to go back to Big Rock? Grace asked curiously. I should. Gotta go back every year or two. There's still the old house. If we don't go back, the yard will be overrun with weeds. That's the Ford family ancestral home. Ethan shrugged. People from a region had strong concepts of clan and lineage. As long as the ancestral home stood, the roots remained. Although Frank Ford didn't go back every single year, he made the trip every couple of years to pay respects to the ancestors. Ethan's grandparents had passed away early, and since Frank had worked at the rolling mill in the city for a long time, their relationship with relatives was distant. Ethan knew even fewer of them. Are you going back? Then we should go back too. I want to see my grandparents. Plus, we can make campfire roast chicken and sweet potatoes. Grace smiled. She didn't want to spend the new year apart from Ethan. Both their families were from the same town, Big Rock, near Fulton. However, their families lived on opposite ends of the town, quite far apart. In the past, they had to take a tricycle taxi to see each other during the holidays. I knew you were a little foodie. All right, I'll make you roast chicken when we go back. Ethan rubbed her head affectionately. Grace gave him a look of disdain. You make it? Are you sure? 2 years ago, who was teaching who? Who built the dirt oven all day only for it to collapse 18 times? If not for this lady's intervention, you would have been carrying that chicken back home to boil it. Ethan laughed awkwardly. Hey, that was a mistake, a pure mistake. This year, I'll definitely build it right. Grace covered her mouth and laughed. I'd see a ghost before I believe you. Want to bet? Ethan quickly changed the subject. Hey Grace, look, there's a food stand ahead. Let's get some gumbo. They rushed over to the street side stand. It was just a large night snack stall with a dozen tables and chairs set up on the sidewalk. Chicago street food wasn't complete without specialty gumbo and chili cheese fries. As soon as she sat down, Grace raised her hand and shouted, Boss, 2 bowls of gumbo and a plate of chili cheese fries. Coming right up. You two just wait a sec, the boss replied, a cigarette dangling from his mouth as he cooked. Ethan raised his hand. Boss, do you have buffalo wings? No. What about ribs? No. Ethan twitched his mouth, looking depressed. Sure enough, small stall, limited menu. Forget it, just need to fill the stomach. Grace laughed gloatingly. Ha ha ha. Stinky Ethan, everything you want is gone. Such bad luck. Ethan. Cough cough. Grace, how about I tell you a story? Grace paused and asked curiously, Sure, what story? A horror story? I love those. Ethan smiled. Not a horror story, just a little anecdote. It says there once was a fool. No matter what people asked him, he would always say no. Like if you asked him if he ate, he'd say no. If you asked him his last name, he'd still say no. Hey Grace, have you heard this story? Grace shook her head blankly. No. Grace? Damn it. Stinky Ethan. You tricked me again. Did I? Where? Stinky Ethan. Are you looking for trouble? I'm gonna beat the crap out of you. I'll stop. The gumbo is coming. Can we eat first then fight? Ethan assumed a cross-defense posture while Grace grabbed his belt. They froze in a stalemate. Hey, handsome, beautiful, 2 orders of gumbo up. Are you two sparring? The chubby boss brought the gumbo over, chuckling. Cuff, practicing. Just practicing. Grace, thin-skinned as ever, retracted her hand and sat up straight, but secretly glared at Ethan. Ethan pretended not to see and thanked the chubby boss. Thanks, boss. Hope you make a fortune every day. Haha, making a fortune would be nice. You sure have a way with words, kid. The chubby boss laughed happily, shaking his head as he walked away. Once the boss was out of earshot, Grace glared at Ethan again, threatening, Stinky Ethan, I'll deal with you when we get back tonight. Ethan showed no weakness, puffing out his chest. Little girl, it's not certain who'll be dealing with whom. Grace's cheeks flushed. She spat. I didn't mean it like that. What the hell are you thinking? You are utterly shameless. Thanks for the compliment. Ethan accepted gladly. Grace slapped her forehead, amused and annoyed. You are invincible. Man who is shameless is invincible. Ethan snickered. Suddenly, his phone rang. Ethan picked it up and saw it was Victor the Reaper Vane calling. He answered immediately, smiling. Hey, Victor, what can I do for you? Haha, Ethan. I just had a drink with Henry. He said you were still working late at the company, so I called you right away. Guess where we are? Victor laughed heartily. Ethan said directly, If you're calling me, Victor, you must be nearby. Yeah, you're sharp as a tack. Are you still at the office? We'll come pick you up. Let's have a drink tonight. Otherwise, in a few days, it's New Year's. Victor said, I'm not at the office. I'm at the night market on the back street. But I'm having a late-night snack with my girlfriend right now, so it's not very convenient, Ethan said, glancing at Grace, intending to decline politely. Your girlfriend is there too? That doesn't matter. Don't worry, I get it. Wait for me. We'll be right there. We can grab a bite before drinking. It's settled. Victor laughed and hung up. Ethan listened to the dial tone and smiled helplessly. Looks like I can't escape the drinking session tonight. Grace asked in surprise. Mr. Ford, who called you just now? Another one of your brothers? Ethan thought for a moment and said seriously, not a brother, but a friend. A true friend. Although he and Victor Vane had a life-and-death friendship, in his heart, their relationship would always remain friendship. It could never become a brotherhood like he had with Tank or Henry. Dealing with Victor Vane, he always kept a deliberate distance, never getting too involved. But that didn't affect his respect for the man. If there was one real man he acknowledged in all of Chicago, It was undoubtedly Victor Vane. Boss Vane? Why is he looking for you so late? Grace was stunned. Ethan picked up the cup next to him and gestured. What do you think, Grace? What else would Victor be looking for me for? If you guys are going drinking again? Grace put down her spoon, puffing out her cute cheeks to show her displeasure. Ethan smiled bitterly. If Victor looks for me, can I flatly refuse? He's helped me a lot and has always looked out for me. They're the debt of gratitude. Grace, sometimes when you're out in the world doing business, it's like this. It's a society built on favors. Grace pouted. I know and I understand. My dad used to say the same thing. So in all this time, have I ever stopped you from going? I just hope you drink a little less. Drinking too much isn't good for your health. Saying that, Grace held Ethan's hand tightly. Ethan felt a warmth in his heart. Being understood felt truly good. He gently patted her hand and comforted her. Don't worry, I know. Besides, drinking with Victor, he never pressures anyone. It's just for fun. See, New Year's is coming up. He just wants to get together and chat. Grace raised her chin proudly. That's fine then. But I'm sticking with you. I have to keep an eye on you. Ethan felt warm inside and smiled. Okay, you become a strict wife so quickly? Strict wife, so what? You got a problem with that? Grace challenged. Ethan clasped his hands together, immediately surrendering. Okay, you're the boss. You're my big brother. You have a final say in this house. All right? I'll listen to you forever. Grace smiled with satisfaction. That's more like it. Eat your gumbo. The two chatted idly while eating. Before long, they finished the gumbo and started on the chili cheese fries. Just then, two drunk young men staggered over, accidentally bumping into Ethan's table and nearly spilling the fries. Hey, buddy, watch where you're going. Ethan steadied the plate and frowned. One of the young men, wearing a loud floral shirt, cursed, Fuck, who are you telling to watch out? I'll walk however the hell I want. Grace couldn't help but slam the table and stand up to question them. Hey, I'm talking to you. Do you have any manners? You bumped into us, and you're still acting so aggressive? Ethan quickly stood up, grabbed Grace's hand, cut her off, and said calmly, Forget it, Grace. They're drunk. Don't argue with drunks. It's pointless. But seeing Grace, the two young men suddenly got lecherous ideas, leering at her. The floral shirt guy said sleazily, Oh, what a pretty girl. Hey, beautiful. Got time to have a couple of drinks with Big Brother? I'm very gentle. The other guy, face flushed with drink, burped, Yeah, come drink with us. We'll open a bottle of red wine for you. Grace was so angry she started rolling up her sleeve to fight, but Ethan kicked out first. You can mess with me, but don't mess with my girlfriend, Ethan warned coldly. He never actively sought trouble and always adhered to the principle that avoiding trouble was better than dealing with it. In business, peace was precious, and one shouldn't easily offend others. But Grace was his reverse scale. No one touched her. Grace was stunned. She hadn't expected Ethan, who was a bit cowardly a second ago, to be so decisive the next. Mister, forward, step back. Let me handle them. Move aside, don't get hurt. Grace rolled up her sleeves, ready to go in. Ethan, hey, Grace Miller, do you take me for a defenseless chicken? Ethan puffed out his chest, looking majestic. Grace asked in surprise, Are you? Nah, Ethan. Don't underestimate people like that. You wait here, let me handle it. Ethan pulled her back, wanting to do it himself. With my years of fighting experience, dealing with two drunks is child's play, right? The floral shirt guy reacted, quickly helped his partner up, then grabbed a chair and pointed at Ethan, cursing, Fuck your mother. Dare to touch my brother? You're looking to die. Honk. Suddenly, a piercing car horn sounded, echoing through the entire night market. The floral shirt guy was startled by the horn behind him. He instinctively looked back and saw black sedans speeding in from one end of the street. There were about 7 or 8 black sedans, Autis and Toyotas. The first car stopped right next to the floral shirt guy. The rear door opened, and a tall, sturdy man in a navy blue suit, exuding an incredibly powerful aura, stepped out. This man had a chiseled face with a cold, domineering brow. His appearance instantly attracted countless gazes from the surroundings. The floral shirt guy, holding the chair, froze when he saw this man. He was awestruck by the man's powerful presence, his whole body stiffening. The man stared at him coldly and said calmly, Kid, were you thinking of raising a hand against my brother, Victor Vane's brother? Hearing the name Victor Vane, the floral shirt guy began to tremble violently. He had naturally heard of Victor Vane. No one in the Chicago underworld didn't know the Reaper, Victor Vane. This was a legendary tough guy, a super boss. He hadn't expected the man in front of him to be the legendary Victor Vane. VV Victor, Boss Vane. The floral shirt guy broke into a cold sweat instantly, quickly putting down the chair. Victor reached out, grabbed him by the collar, and slowly lifted him up as if he were a little chick. Just now, which hand were you planning to use on my brother? The guy in the floral shirt was shaking so hard his knees were knocking together. His face was pale, and he was suddenly, terrifiedly sober. Oh, SHD. It's over. He never imagined that the kid he was messing with was actually Boss Vane's brother. He really kicked an iron plate this time. No, a steel plate. BB Boss Vane, I was wrong. I was wrong. The floral shirt guy looked like he was about to cry. Victor Vane spoke calmly. I asked you, which hand were you planning to use on my brother? At that moment, men in black jackets poured out of the cars, rushing over with unfriendly faces. They looked like demons from hell. Dozens of burly men in black created quite a scene. The floral shirt guy and his partner were surrounded by dozens of people, stared down intensely. The partner was so scared he dropped to his knees, holding his head, not daring to move. Right. Oh no, left. No, right. And neither. I wouldn't dare. Boo-hoo, Boss Vane, I wouldn't dare. The floral shirt guy actually started sobbing, scared to death, utterly terrified. Victor shook his head and threw him to the ground. Coward. Big Ed, take these two and educate them. Big Ed, standing behind Victor, grinned. Hee, no problem. With that, he grabbed the two young men by the scruff of their necks, one in each hand, and dragged them into the alley. Soon, screams and wails echoed out. Victor seemed not to hear them. He walked straight to Ethan, his originally cold face melting like ice into a warm smile. Hi, Ethan. I'm not late, am I? Ethan, are you okay? Henry ran over, asking with concern. I'm fine, Ethan's mild. Victor, you're not late. Just in time. Thanks. Ethan expressed his gratitude to Victor. Victor chuckled. Small matter. I was just drinking, had a belly full of water. Took a leak, and it was gone. I need some late-night grub, too. Suddenly, he turned to look at Grace beside Ethan. His eyes lit up in admiration. This must be the sister-in-law. Not bad, Ethan. Your girlfriend really makes you look good. I heard my sister mention her. Said she was a beauty. Seeing her in person, she really is stunning. Yeah, my girlfriend, Grace Miller. Ethan introduced her openly. It was Grace's first time meeting Victor in person. She had only heard Ethan mention him many times, knowing Victor was no ordinary man. Hee. Hello, Boss Vane. Grace bowed slightly, greeting him. Hello. Sister-in-law. For our first meeting, I don't have a good gift prepared. Didn't know what you liked, so I just bought a gold bracelet from a jewelry store on the way. Here for you, huh? Victor pulled a shiny, heavy gold bracelet directly from his pocket and stuffed it into Grace's hand. Grace's eyes went wide with shock. A big gold bracelet, just for meeting? So generous. Oh, no, Boss Vane. This gift is too expensive. Grace tried to refuse, wanting to return the bracelet. Victor waved his hand, deliberately putting on a stern face. Hey, sister-in-law, has there ever been a precedent for Victor Vane taking back a gift? Ask Ethan. Ethan smiled wryly, pulled Grace back, and said to her, It's okay, Grace. Just accept it. A gift from Victor is non-returnable. In the entire Chicago underworld, there were probably few people who dared to return Victor Vane's gifts. Grace stuck out her tongue and said helplessly, All right, thank you, Boss Vane. Victor patted his stomach and laughed. All right, let's not stand around chatting. The boys and I are probably hungry. Let's eat first. Brothers, find a place to sit. Eat something. 40-something people clattered around looking for seats, scaring the original diners into dropping their money and running. Who would want to eat alongside a crowd like this? The chubby boss, cigarette dangling from his mouth, was also stunned, unsure of what to do. Ethan called out to the boss, Boss, give everyone a bowl of gumbo and chili cheese fries. Put it on my tab. Hey, thanks, Mr. Ford. Mr. Ford is awesome. Thanks for the treat, Mr. Ford. Some recognized Ethan and started cheering. Victor teased, Our Mr. Ford is treating, so eat your fill. If it's not enough, order more. Don't be polite with him, got it? The dozens of men laughed. It was a joyous scene. Some even shouted for extra sides. Ethan said generously, Sure, order whatever you want. It's on me. Victor pulled Henry and Ethan to sit at table. Seeing Henry alone, Ethan asked curiously, Henry, where's your girlfriend, Lucy? Hearing this, Henry got a bit embarrassed. Ethan, Lucy hasn't said yes yet. Not yet? It'll be soon. I see you two sticky together all the time. You just haven't made a move. Ethan laughed. Victor slapped Henry on the shoulder and shook his head. I told Henry while we were drinking just now. This is his only flaw, not decisive enough. Dating should be straightforward. Why drag it out? Henry laughed dryly, not knowing how to answer. Finally, he squeezed out 3 words. No. No experience. Ethan and Grace both cracked up, clutching their stomachs laughing. Grace stifled a laugh. Henry, usually you look fearless doing anything. Why do you turn into a coward when it comes to feelings? Saying that, Grace didn't forget to tease Ethan. You should learn from Mr. Ford's thick skin. Otherwise, ask Mr. Ford to give you half of his face skin. He's got plenty. Ethan chuckled. Right, learn from me. As long as your skin is thick enough, there's nothing you can't handle. Henry actually nodded thoughtfully and said seriously, okay, I'll try next time. Victor took out a pack of cigarettes and offered the first one to Ethan. Ethan was instinctively reaching for it when he suddenly felt a cold gaze from beside him. He turned to see Grace staring at him. Coffee. I am temporarily quitting smoking. Etan laughed dryly. Victor chuckled, looking intrigued. Hey, didn't see that coming. Our Mr. Ford is whipped, but being whipped is good. Better to have someone managing you than no one. Victor retracted the cigarette, then gave Ethan a look. Ethan, come with me for a second. I have something to tell you. Let's step aside. Okay, let's chat over there, Ethan said, standing up. Victor and Ethan walked into the nearby alley, shielded by a signboard. Then Victor offered him a cigarette again, laughing. All right, at home, sometimes when my wife is around, she doesn't let me smoke either. But outside, she can't control me. Ethan was a bit surprised. He had met Victor's wife, Vanessa Vane, a few times. She looked delicate, with the air of a noble lady. He hadn't expected her to be able to restrain Victor at home. Ethan took the cigarette and smiled. I understand. Men, we only voluntarily become whipped because we spoil our wives. By the way, Victor, what's up? Bringing so many people out. Is Thunder Bay making moves? Victor lit his cigarette, exhaled a plume of smoke, and said, I'd rather they made a move. But ever since he took out Damien Cross last time, they seem to have turtled up. I tried to lure them out, but they didn't bite. My lure the snake from the hole trick failed. To prevent an ambush, I can't leave the house with fewer than 40 brothers now. Now they're in the dark, and we are in the light. I'm afraid. It's hard to defend against everything. Victor's tone was heavy. He seemed to sense a shift in the situation, perhaps more dangerous than before. Ethan lit his cigarette and thought. Seems like we spooked the snake. Making preparations is good. Safer. If they continue to hide, we might have to take the initiative after the new year. Thunder Bay's turf. We have to take it out first. Victor nodded in agreement. Exactly. You think like me. We can't keep waiting. Otherwise, I can't sleep peacefully at night. As long as that crew exists in Chicago, I'll always feel a thorn in my back. Both men smoked in silence, knowing full well the danger level of that group. Ethan knew he could no longer stay out of it. Taking down Damien Cross had already placed him in opposition to Thunder Bay. The Thunder Bay gang was like a splinter in the flesh, painful at all times, but hard to grip and pull out. Ethan flicked the ash, blew a smoke ring, and said in a low voice, I always feel they will strike again. And the next time, I'm afraid it will be different from before. But no matter what, Victor, for us and them, it's already a life or death situation. When the winner is decided, so is the survivor. Victor looked at Ethan with gratification and sighed. Ethan, sometimes I wish your last name was Vane. If I could have a brother like you, how great that would be. You aren't a hero. You're a formidable overlord. In his heart, he admired Ethan immensely. Among all the young people he had met, few possessed even a tenth of Ethan's mindset and ability. Smart enough, ruthless enough, decisive enough, yet not lacking in worldly smoothness. Such a young man had a limitless future. Victor, you flatter me. I'm just a businessman, hardly an overlord, Ethan said modestly. Victor shook his head and laughed. In front of me, you don't need to be modest. I, Victor Vane, can treat you as a brother, but I understand that you will never truly be my brother in the life. You're too sharp. You know that once you walk my path, it's hard to turn back. And I believe you've told Henry the same things. Henry treats me as his future brother-in-law, but he doesn't treat me as the Reaper. He has zero interest in my business. Victor spoke so frankly that Ethan felt a bit awkward. Victor, you will always be my friend. Ethan smiled helplessly. Victor laughed heartily. Ha. Having those words is enough. I didn't misjudge you. Some things, you and I both know well. There's no harm in saying it openly. As long as you, Ethan, treat me as a friend, I, Victor Vane, will treat you as a brother. Being brothers is a lifetime commitment. Ethan was moved. Even knowing his mindset, Victor didn't mind at all. Instead, he was willing to bare his heart and treat him as a brother. How could such a loyal and open-minded man not command respect? I know. Thanks, Victor. Ethan bowed slightly to Victor sincerely. Victor cursed laughingly. Fuck. What are you being so polite for? You businessmen are boring. Ethan laughed too. Whatever you say, Victor. Victor threw away his cigarette and smiled. Let's talk about something happy. Good news. Camel is out of the hospital. His injuries have fully healed. That's great news. We must grab a drink with him next time, Ethan said happily. Camel was Victor's right-hand man and most trusted brother. Last time, to save Victor, he nearly lost his life to the Thunder Bay people. Camel's return was indeed a joyous occasion. No need to wait for next time. After the snacks, we're going to my place for karaoke. I'll call him out, Victor smiled. Still going to karaoke? Ethan's mouth twitched. Little Grace was watching him closely. Could she adapt to that environment? Victor patted his shoulder, keeping a straight face. It's almost New Year's. Rare chance to get together. Thinking of bailing. Okay, I'll listen to you. But the tigress is at home, so let's take it easy. Ethan shrugged, administering a preventative shot. Relax. I won't pressure you to drink. I never force drinks. Just drinking and chatting with you, kid, makes me happy. Out of so many young people, you suit my taste the best. If you didn't already have a girlfriend, and since my sister fell for Henry, no matter what, I would have dragged you in to be my brother-in-law. Huh? Ethan joked. Maybe the life after next. The next 2 lifetimes are already booked by my lady. All right, Victor, the food is here. Let's go eat. The two returned to the food stall. As soon as Ethan sat down, Grace secretly pinched him. Ouch. Grace, what was that for? Ethan grimaced. Grace huffed, sneaking off to smoke? You think I didn't know? Seeing he was busted, Ethan smiled sheepishly. You saw that. By the way, after we eat, Victor invited me to sing. How about you go back first? Grace grabbed his arm and said solemnly, No way. If I'm not there, you'll definitely drink too much. I'm going too. Stinky Ethan wants to ditch me. Dream on. Where you go, I go. Grace said firmly. Ethan smiled bitterly. I'm just afraid you won't be used to that kind of setting. Singing? What's the big deal? I can sing too. I sing really well. Grace patted her chest confidently. 3 black lines appeared on Ethan's forehead. You sing well. What? You got an opinion on my voice? Grace glared at him. No, absolutely not. As long as you're happy. Ethan raised both hands. Victor watched the two bickering from the side, finding him amusing. Ethan, if the sister-in-law wants to go, let her go. It's my turf, just relax. Ethan gave a strange look. It's nothing. I'm not worried about safety. I'm just worried about spoiling everyone's mood. Victor was stunned. No way. Is it that exaggerated? Sister-in-law looks so refined. How could she spoil the mood? Stop worrying. The group spent over half an hour eating. After filling their stomachs, everyone clambered into cars and headed straight for Victor's venue, the Cashman KTV Club. Victor had booked the largest private suite, over 1,000 square feet, decorated resplendently like a palace, capable of holding dozens of people. It was Grace's first time in such a place. She looked around like a curious baby. Victor handed her a songbook and said generously, Sister-in-law, pick whatever you want. You sing first while we drink. Sing whatever you like. The waiter will put on for you. Okay. Thanks, Boss Vane. Grace nodded happily. Then Victor pulled Ethan and Henry aside to drink. The 3 sat down, cracked open a beer each, and started drinking. A moment later, music started playing. It was a familiar song, a familiar melody, but it drew bewildered looks from everyone. Get your motor running. Head out on the highway. Looking for adventure. And whatever comes our way. Grace used her sweet, crisp voice to try and belt out the rugged rock anthem Born to be Wild, but it was purely jarring. It was like a chipmunk trying to roar like a lion, and completely off-key. Victor sprayed a mouthful of beer, dumbfounded. He had heard bad singing before, but he had never heard a girl sing Born to be Wild this badly. Cough, cough. I told you so. Ethan choked on his beer, laughing helplessly. Yeah, darling, go make it happen. Take the world in a love embrace. Fire all of your guns at once, and explode into space. Amidst Grace's shrieking, the song finally reached its end and slowly faded out. After the music stopped, the room was dead silent. Ethan ran over and tugged at Grace, who was still immersed in the song. Grace, why did you sing that? Your voice isn't suitable for this kind of song. Why? Did it sound bad? Grace asked back. Ethan pondered for a moment and said seriously, If you had hit even one note, it wouldn't have been that bad. Grace said straight-faced, I think I sang it pretty well. Besides, I think this song fits the mood. You have to sing the right song for the place. This is a tough guy song. Look at all the tough guys here tonight. Then she turned around, put one foot on a chair, looked at the crowd of men in black, and shouted into the mic that Born to be Wild was dedicated to all the tough guys here. Am I right? The brothers looked at each other in dismay. Then someone chimed in, yeah, right? Applause. Everyone applauded out of courtesy, specifically out of respect for Ethan. Grace thought they were won over by her singing and said to Ethan triumphantly, "See, who said I wouldn't fit in? Who said I sang badly? They love my singing." Ethan. Holy crap. Where does Grace get this confidence? She shouted into the mic, "Waiter, next song." Garth Brooks' Friends in Low Places, dedicated to everyone. Yo, put your hands up. Let me see your hands. Friends in the back, get up and party. Ethan looked at the hyped-up Grace, eyes glazed over. When it came to singing, Grace really went crazy in a crowd. Seems his worry was indeed superfluous. Forget it, as long as she's happy. Grace was about to start again. That crisp voice singing caused Ethan to feel a sudden urge to pee. He initiated the bathroom escape plan to hide from the lethal sonic waves. Ethan ran downstairs to use the restroom. Without the demonic sound destroying his ears, the whole world felt peaceful. It was beautiful. He had just come out of the restroom when a group of people swarmed the entrance. One of them bumped right into Ethan. "Kid, get lost. Don't block my business." The man who bumped into Ethan was a bald guy with a heavy accent and a face full of aggressive flesh. He looked like trouble. Ethan brushed off his clothes. Adhering to the principle of avoiding trouble, he didn't bother arguing and stepped around him. But just a few steps later, he saw a young man in the crowd being yanked by his clothes by the bald man. The face looked familiar. He looked closer and was surprised. It was him. "Fuck, when are you going to pay up, kid?" The bald man slapped the young man hard across the face. But the young man with the buzz cut took the slap without a sound. He simply spat out 2 words, "No money." "Fuck you. You think no money settles it? You think my boss's money is free? Borrow it and don't pay it back." The bald man kicked the buzz-cut youth, knocking him to the ground. The youth let them beat him without showing any intention of fighting back. He just quietly climbed up from the floor. Seeing him act like a mute gourd, showing no fear despite the beating, the bald man felt like he was losing face and grew angry. SHD. The bald man raised his hand to slap him again. Suddenly, a hand grabbed his wrist firmly. "Brother, let's talk this out. No need to beat him to death," Ethan said calmly. The bald man turned to look at Ethan in surprise, shook off his hand, and raged, "Fuck, who the hell are you? Who asked you to meddle? Tired of living?" Ethan glanced at the buzz-cut youth and smiled. "Easy now. He's a friend of mine." The young man was Wyatt Steele. He wasn't old, maybe 25 or 26 with dark skin. Wyatt was also a bit surprised to see Ethan. "It's you." He recognized Ethan as well. "Yeah, you okay?" Ethan asked with concern. The bald man shoved Ethan, then looked him up and down. Seeing Ethan dressed formally, not looking like a street thug, he became even more brazen. "Fuck, who are you, kid? Which crew you run with? Daring to manage my business?" The bald man glared at Ethan viciously. Ethan didn't get angry. He said calmly, "Brother, I don't run with anyone. He's my friend. Since you're messing with my friend, I borrowed it to treat my mom's illness. Principal was $4,000. In 1 year, it rolled to $35,000. Ethan was stunned. Holy SHD. The principal was just $4,000, and it rolled to 35? That's eating people without spitting out the bones. That's worse than loan sharks. Fuck, who are you talking about? One of the men pointed at Ethan's nose and cursed. The bald man said coldly, "So what? Besides interest, there are fines. Don't pay on time, you get fined. Don't pay again. In 2 months, it'll be 70,000. Ethan shook his head. "Brother, business shouldn't be done like this. You're driving people to a dead end. This math doesn't add up." The bald man took 2 steps forward, staring aggressively at Ethan. "Yeah, then how do you want to calculate it, kid?" Ethan held up 5 fingers. 5,000. The bald man laughed at the number. The others laughed too, as if hearing a joke. "Ha ha. Holy SHD. Are you kidding me, kid? 5,000? Sending off a beggar? If my boss finds out, how do you want to die?" The bald man sneered. Ethan smiled. "If you can't make the call, let your boss talk to me." The bald man stared at Ethan with interest. Okay. You like to play hero, right? Don't cry on your knees later. Want to talk to my boss? Come on, I'll take you to see him. Anyway, if you don't cough up the money today, neither of you is leaving." He figured he might be able to slaughter 2 fat sheep tonight. "Kid, let you play hero? You'll be crying soon." The bald man and his gang marched Ethan and Wyatt out of the hallway, heading toward a private room. "You shouldn't have helped me," Wyatt whispered, walking beside Ethan. "You helped me. I can't just watch you die. Otherwise, I wouldn't be Ethan Ford," Ethan said calmly. He was a man who repaid kindness. He wouldn't just owe someone. If he owed a favor, he had to return it. Besides, this matter was small to him. 35,000 wasn't much, but he didn't want to be a sucker and pay unjust money. Some things had to be negotiated. Later. You run first, Wyatt whispered. It seemed he had already planned to fight his way out, but didn't want to drag Ethan down. Ethan warned, don't be rash. They're packing heat at their waists. This time, no matter what, listen to me. Trust me. Wyatt looked up, eyes showing surprise and confusion, but he didn't speak again. Soon, the two were marched into a large private room. The air inside was foul with smoke. A dozen people were drinking and smoking, with several skimpily dressed hostesses accompanying them. Sitting in the center was a fat man wearing a thick gold chain and slick back hair. His triangular eyes were incredibly lecherous as he groped a hostess. The hostess didn't resist, as several $100 bills were already stuffed into her low-cut neckline. Boss, we're back. The bald man walked over quickly and shouted. The man with the gold chain turned his head and said lazily, well, did you get the money? No, not yet, but this kid says he can pay for him. Says he wants to talk price with you. The bald man grinned viciously. Talk price. The gold chain man sneered, then looked at Ethan, sizing him up. Just you, kid? You want to talk price with me? The bald man walked up to Ethan, shoved him, and cursed, fuck, my boss is Lenny Lawson, the leech. Didn't you ask around? Who dares steal my big brother money? And you want to fucking bargain with us? Ethan looked calm. He walked straight up to the fat man, called Lenny. Lenny, right? My friend's dad borrowed only $4,000 from you. In just 1 year, it flipped to $35,000. That's nearly 9 times. This business is a bit excessive, don't you think? Lenny grabbed a wine bottle and smashed it violently at Ethan's feet. Crash! The bottle shattered, glass flying everywhere. The sound echoed through the room. Instantly, the whole room went quiet. The music paused. Everyone's eyes snapped to them. Lenny Lawson stared coldly at Ethan. Punk, do I need you to teach me how to do business? Take a piss and look at your reflection. Who the fuck do you think you are? As the words fell, the atmosphere in the private room became tense. Some people in the room stood up, slowly circling Ethan with unfriendly eyes. Wyatt silently moved to Ethan's side, clenching his fists, seemingly ready to fight at any moment. But there was no panic on Ethan's face. Having experienced so many storms, he had a heart of steel. Lenny, no need to make it like this. We're all just trying to eat. Why burn bridges? Ethan smiled. He wasn't afraid of trouble, but he didn't want to cause it. He preferred not to make enemies if possible. If this so-called Lenny dared to start something here, Ethan was confident this man wouldn't be walking out of the Cashman KTV club tonight. Didn't he look at whose turf this was? Ethan's calm demeanor made Lenny Lawson hesitate. What is this kid's background? Is he in the life too? Lenny thought for a moment, took out a cigarette, lit it himself, and said, Kid, you got guts. Who do you run with? State your name. Ethan put his hands in his pockets. Ethan Ford. With that, Ethan took out a business card from his pocket and placed it in front of Lenny. Lenny didn't pick up the card. He just glanced at it. Seeing West Ford Group CEO, a look of disdain instantly appeared in his eyes. West Ford Group? Heh, never heard of it. But looks like you really are a businessman, Lenny sneered. Since you want to talk, fine. Someone give him a chair. He loved dealing with these bosses the most. Not for anything else, but because he loved fleecing them. These bosses were fat sheep. The bald man grinned, kicked a chair, and sent it sliding to Ethan's side. Ethan pulled the chair over, sat down, and said, Lenny, my friend's debt is indeed a bit exaggerated. Even in the underworld, nobody operates like this. Flipping 4,000 to 35,000 a year. At this speed, who in the world could withstand it? Lenny exhaled smoke and sneered. How it flips is my rule. If you can't handle it, don't borrow the money. Since you said you want to talk, fine. By the rules, I should have broken one of the kids' hands. But since you're stepping up, make it 50,000. Ethan paused. Good Lord, the negotiation was going backwards. Did they take him for a sucker? 50,000. Lenny, you really know how to joke, Ethan said coldly. It seemed these people had no intention of talking properly. Fuck, do I look like I have time to joke with you? Aren't you running a fucking company? Aren't you a fucking boss? Can't even cough up 50 grand. Lenny glared at Ethan viciously. Ethan held up 5 fingers. 5,000. Take it or leave it. Fuck your mother. 5,000? Are you fucking playing me? Lenny hurled the wine glass in his hand. It flew right past Ethan's head. Smash. The glass shattered. Tonight, right now, if you don't produce 50,000, don't think about leaving this room. Otherwise, both of you are leaving on stretchers. Lenny threatened. The bald man walked up to Ethan with a nasty grin. Ooh, weren't you acting tough just now? Want to talk to our boss? Why don't you fucking kneel down and kowtow a few times to us first? The others in the room roared with laughter, looking at Ethan with ridicule. Ethan's face gradually darkened. A hint of ruthlessness surfaced in his eyes. Originally, he hadn't planned on offending anyone. Now it seemed that dealing with these unreasonable thugs required hard tactics. Soft words wouldn't work. No wonder Victor could run Chicago for so long. Without a temper, you couldn't suppress people like this. Damn, if the tiger doesn't roar, you take me for hello, kitty? Lenny put his feet up on the table, mocking, kid can sure act. You'd better actually call someone to bring money. Otherwise, I'll break both your arms first. Suddenly, Ethan's phone rang. It was Victor. He answered immediately. Hey, Ethan, where'd you run off to? Taking a piss for this long? Are you trying to dodge drinks? Hurry back. Victor's laughter came from the other end, urging him to return. Hey, Victor, I ran into a little trouble downstairs in room 306. Someone wants you to bring $50,000 over. Otherwise, I have to leave on a stretcher. Ethan smiled. Fuck. Wait there. I'll be right there. Victor hung up. Hearing the name Victor, Lenny paused. Did this kid just call Victor Vane? Impossible, right? Who is Victor Vane? Is he someone this kid could know? Impossible. Absolutely impossible. This kid must be bluffing. Fuck you, kid. Trying to pull a tiger skin to make yourself look big? Don't think just because this is Boss Vane's turf you can use his name to scare me. Fuck. Lenny sneered, kicking Ethan's chair. Ethan almost fell, but Wyatt caught him from behind. Ethan's expression grew even darker. It seemed ordinary methods really wouldn't work on these bastards. Lenny mocked, keep pretending. You'd better pray someone brings money, or I'm breaking your legs. Suddenly, the sound of dense, heavy footsteps thundered outside. Bang! The private room door was kicked open. A massive crowd flooded in like a tide. Lenny and his crew were startled. Holy SHD! Why? Why are there so many people? Who the fuck is asking my brother for money? Victor Vane walked in with a dragon's stride and a tiger's pace, smoking a cigarette. Lenny stared. He recognized Victor Vane instantly. He quickly took his feet off the table and shot up. Vive Victor. Boss Vane. It really is fucking Victor Vane. Damn it. This kid actually has a backer, and it's a huge one. Victor saw Ethan and recognized Lenny. Hell, Leech. So it's you. Lenny quickly ran to Victor, bowing and scraping as he offered a cigarette. Boss Vane, long time no see. My brother mentioned you just the other day. Said if I came to Boss Vane's place, I had to catch up with you. Here, have a smoke, Boss Vane. Victor snorted coldly, bypassed him completely, and walked to Ethan's side. How is it? You okay? What happened? Ethan briefly recounted the story, then shrugged. Victor, I'm an easy person to talk to, but some people might be crossing the line. Lenny was terrified. He hadn't expected Victor to be so close with this kid, calling him brother. Their relationship was clearly not ordinary. This is bad. Damn, if I don't handle this right, I could easily make an enemy of Victor Vane. Boss Vane, this is all a misunderstanding. A misunderstanding. I didn't know Brother Ethan was your friend. Truly a misunderstanding. We're all family. The flood washed over the Dragon King's temple. Here, Brother Ethan, have a smoke. It was all my fault just now. Hope you don't take it to heart. I'll punish myself with 3 drinks later. Lenny licked his face and ran to Ethan to offer a cigarette. Ethan didn't take it. He turned to Victor. Victor, friend of yours? No, don't know him well, Victor said coldly. As soon as Victor spoke, Ethan walked to the table and picked up a wine bottle. Lenny thought Ethan wanted him to drink the penalty shots now and quickly stepped forward. Hey, Brother Ethan, I'll do it. But then, Ethan raised the bottle and smashed it heavily onto Lenny's head. Smash! The bottle shattered and blood bloomed on Lenny's head instantly. Ethan's sudden move shocked everyone in the room. Lenny Lawson clutched his head, squatting on the ground and wailing as blood poured through his fingers. Boss! The bald man instinctively moved to step forward, but a single glance from Victor Vane froze him in place. He didn't dare move a muscle. Lenny's other brothers didn't dare to act rashly either. Making a move on Victor Vane's turf was a death wish. They could only watch helplessly, intimidated by Ethan's ruthlessness, too scared to even speak. Ethan sat back in his chair and extended a foot toward Lenny, who was so terrified he instinctively recoiled. Sit here. Sit in front of me, Ethan commanded. Lenny looked at Ethan with fear, trembling as he obediently sat on the stool in front of him. Ethan kicked the stool out from under him. Lenny crashed to the floor, not daring to get up again. This was a complete reenactment of what Lenny had just done to Ethan. Ethan squatted down, leaning close to Lenny's face, and said calmly, I've always been easy to talk to, but that doesn't mean anyone can shit on my head. Lenny, I gave you some face just now, but you refused it. Believe it or not, I can make you disappear from the state tomorrow. Lenny shuddered at the calm tone. It was bone-chilling. This young man was a true, ruthless character. I believe you, brother Ethan. No, boss Ethan. Mr. Ford. I was wrong. I was wrong. Lenny stammered, begging for mercy. Ethan grabbed Lenny's hair and yanked his head back violently, staring him dead in the eye. Am my friends dead? What about that? Lenny felt like his scalp was being ripped off. The piercing pain made tears and snot run down his face. I don't want it. I don't want it. No need to pay. No need to pay, he shouted through sobs. Ethan finally released his hair and said coldly, I believe in fair dealing. $5,000. Tomorrow night, come to the West Ford Group to collect it. Boo, no, Mr. Ford, I don't want it. I don't want it, really. Lenny knelt on the ground, waving his hands frantically. When I say come, you come. Why so much nonsense? Ethan glared at him. Yes. Lenny nodded in shock. Victor, watching from the side, looked on with appreciation. Sometimes, dealing with these people required toughness. You had to use strength and ruthlessness to suppress them, to make them fear you. That was the once-and-for-all solution. If you weren't ruthless enough, if you couldn't suppress them, they would breed resentment and seek revenge. Now, Ethan had smashed a bottle over his head, strangling that resentment in the cradle. Lenny wouldn't dare harbor thoughts of rebellion ever again. This kid plays this hand well. You can get lost now. Ethan kicked Lenny. Lenny looked as if he had been granted amnesty. Surprise and joy flashed on his face as he scrambled up, bowed, and scurried out like a rat. The bald man and the rest of the gang followed, fleeing with their tails between their legs. Ethan, nice work. Leech will walk around you from now on. Victor laughed in praise. People like that just need to be taught a lesson. They look like they have a lot of goons, but they're actually cowards. They only know how to bully the weak. Ethan sneered dismissively. Just from the way Lenny threw the glass earlier, Ethan knew the man was all bark and no bite. Apart from intimidation, he was nothing. I knew it long ago. He's just like his brother. Makes a little money loan sharking, get a few guys under him, and thinks he's above the law. Just a jumping clown, Victor evaluated sharply. Now that it's settled, let's go. Back to drinking. Ethan looked at Wyatt. Victor, you guys go ahead. I'll join you in a bit. Victor understood. He had noticed Wyatt too, and saw a special quality in him. All right, sure. By the way, Ethan, your friend, looks like he came out of the service. Victor asked casually. Ethan didn't actually know, but Wyatt replied calmly. Special Forces. Oh, why did you get out so young? Victor asked curiously. Wyatt didn't speak. A flash of pain crossed his eyes, suggesting a difficult story. If you don't want to say, that's fine. I'm going to drink. Victor didn't mind. He laughed and led his men away. Soon, only Ethan and Wyatt were left in the large private room. Thank you, Wyatt said after a moment of silence. No need. You helped me. I helped you. We're even. Ethan smiled. No, I still owe you money. 5,000. Wyatt looked up and said seriously. It's just $5,000. You don't need to pay it back. Consider it my repayment for your favor. Ethan said nonchalantly. 5,000 was a drop in the bucket for him. Wyatt shook his head firmly. I don't want no money. I can work for you to pay off the debt. He paused, then added, deduct it from my wages. I could do janitorial work. Ethan was amused. He thought for a moment and said, my company doesn't lack janitors, but we do lack some security personnel. I saw your skills are good, and you're from the service. I want to invite you to join my security company. Wyatt was stunned. He hadn't heard of a security company. Security guard? That works. Is it $500 a month? Ethan was dumbfounded. 500 is that too high? Then, for 100 works too. Can't go lower than that. Wyatt gritted his teeth, extremely serious. Ethan didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Even the janitors in his group made more than 500. True, in the current employment environment, finding a job was hard. Many factories paid only $700 or $800 a month, often without meals. A decent job was around 1,000. That was the median wage in Chicago for unskilled labor. Ethan held up 5 fingers and smiled. You come to be the security training supervisor. I'll pay you $4,000 a month. Room and board included, plus a company car. What? For 1,000. Wyatt's eyes went round, staring at Ethan in disbelief. For 1,000? That was the salary of a company executive or manager. And, most importantly, room and board included. 4,000 a month, room and board, and a car. He was dazed, unable to react for a moment. You joking with me? Wyatt asked incredulously. Ethan put away his smile and adopted a serious face. Do I look like I'm joking? I'm worth that much money. Wyatt asked, doubting himself. Ethan smiled. I think you're worth it. So you're worth it. Wyatt didn't hesitate. Then I'll do it. With a job paying $4,000 a month, how could he pass it up? Work. Work to death. If he didn't do the job well, he'd feel unworthy of the salary. Good. Wyatt, welcome to the West Ford Group. Ethan took the initiative to extend his hand. Wyatt looked at his own hand, wiped it on his clothes, and then shook Ethan's hand. Thank you. I will do the security guard job well. Ethan held his hand and teased. Hey, the job is similar to a security guard, but not quite. It's called security. It's more like a private bodyguard. West Ford Security's main business is responsible for safety patrols of West Ford Group stores and providing security services to external individuals or companies. Remember, starting now, you're the training supervisor of the security company and the instructor for the employees. Wyatt said, seemingly understanding, then thought for a long time before spitting out a sentence. So, a security coach? Ethan, forget it. Understand it however you want for now. You'll know later. Wyatt felt ashamed of his comprehension ability and said seriously, Boss, I will work hard to improve my understanding. So, boss, when can I start? Ethan smiled. Report to the West Ford Group at 8 a.m. tomorrow morning. Pick up your uniform and equipment, and you're on duty. Yes. Wyatt instinctively snapped to attention, about to salute, but froze and pulled his hand back. The move was purely out of subconscious obedience to orders, but he forgot he wasn't in the service anymore. He was out in society. Ethan saw it all and felt reassured about the man. Wyatt, what kind of person do you want to become in the future? Faced with this question, Wyatt's eyes showed some confusion. He didn't know how to answer. Ethan patted his shoulder and comforted him. If you haven't thought it through, no rush to answer. I believe that later, you'll be able to answer me with confidence. Yes, boss. Wyatt lowered his head in shame. Once, he had thought about this question. Back in the service, his idea was simple. Just be a good soldier, an all-around excellent soldier. But that didn't seem right anymore. After getting out, he found himself disconnected from society. He had no job skills. Aside from manual labor or running a street stall, he couldn't think of any other way out. When a person loses their original goal, they find themselves falling into a daze, finding it hard to imagine what kind of person they will become. This question, for him right now, was indeed unanswerable. Don't feel embarrassed. Everyone has times of confusion. It's normal. Ethan smiled comfortingly. It's getting late, and you have to report to the company tomorrow. Go back and rest early. Ethan took out his wallet, pulled out a stack of $100 bills, and handed them to him. Take this money for now. New Year is coming. Have a good holiday this year. Boss, no, I can't take it. Wyatt refused directly. Ethan kept a straight face. This is an order. Take it. Only then did Wyatt accept the money, clutching it tightly in his hand, his eyes reddening. All right, head back. Ethan smiled, patted his shoulder, turned, and left. Wyatt stood at attention. Yes, boss. Just as Ethan reached the door, Wyatt called out, Boss, I have a request. Ethan turned back, asking curiously, What request? I have 2 other brothers. So can they join the company too? Wyatt asked cautiously, afraid his request was excessive. Ethan laughed. From a service too? Yes. Brothers from the same squad. Life and death brothers. Wyatt said quickly and seriously. Ethan said generously, Of course. If they want to come, report together tomorrow. That's it. See you tomorrow. With that, Ethan left the private room. Wyatt held the thick stack of bills, silent for a moment. Upstairs in the luxury suite, as soon as Ethan returned, he heard Grace's lethal sonic weapon. Ethan couldn't even make out what she was singing. He trotted over and snatched the microphone from Grace. Grace, stop for a second. Grace paused, looking at him in confusion. What's wrong? Why grab my mic? If you want to sing, there's another one in the back. Come on, let's do a duet. Ethan's mouth twitched. Others sing for money. You sing for blood. Stop singing. It's about time to head out. Going back already, Grace said reluctantly. Ethan, hey, you used to tell me to visit these entertainment places less. Why are you the one unwilling to leave now? Ethan laughed, crying inside. Grace muttered in a low voice. I didn't know it was this fun before. Ethan slapped his forehead, helpless. All right, little Grace. I'll bring you back another time to play, okay? You said it. Grace finally smiled, relieved. Ethan then went to clink glasses with Victor. Just as he was preparing to say goodbye, Camel arrived. Camel had shaved his head, revealing 3 very obvious scars on his scalp, looking like hideous centipedes. Looking closely, his neck and arms also bore many healed scars, all from knives. Camel's image had become even more terrifying. He could probably scare children to tears just by walking down the street. a bald giant covered in knife scars. Anyone who saw him would tremble inside. Mr. Ford, don't rush off. I just got here. Why are you leaving? Come, drink some more. Camel grabbed Ethan's arm affectionately, laughing. Okay, no problem. Camel, are your injuries okay? Ethan asked with concern. Fine long ago. Can eat, can drink. Camel slapped his chest. Having been deprived of alcohol, Camel's thirst was unbearable. He dragged Ethan to keep drinking. They chatted and laughed, drinking for another half hour. Finally, Grace had to step in to drag Ethan away. Only then did the others let him go, teasing Ethan about having another battle when he got home and telling him to save some energy. When Ethan and Grace left the KTV and took a taxi back home, it was already past midnight. Tonight, sleep in your room. Before Ethan could speak, Grace blushed and spoke first. Ethan couldn't ask for more. A soft, tender little lamb delivering herself to the door. How could he refuse? Great. My bed is big, and the quilt is warm enough. Ethan hugged her, grinning lewdly. Grace rolled her eyes at him. Shameless, You smell like smoke and booze. You stink. Go shower quickly. Ethan saluted. Yes, ma'am. Listening to leadership's orders. He gently opened the door and tiptoed inside, afraid of waking his parents. Grace followed behind him, feeling like a thief. Stinky Ethan, be quiet. Grace whispered. No ambush ahead. No enemies. Leadership can rest assured. Ethan responded. The two snuck back into the room and collapsed on the bed. Finally back in my doghouse. So comfy. Ethan lay on the bed, sighing. Grace kicked him, urging, Stinky Ethan, you really stink to death. Go shower. Wash clean before lying down. Ethan said, thick-skinned. If I didn't stink, how could I be a stinky man? Let me rest a bit. Foshan, shadowless kick. Thud. Ethan yelped as he fell off the bed. He climbed up from the floor, grabbed a change of clothes, and said, Grace Miller, you wait. I'll be back. With that, he scampered out. Grace covered her mouth and laughed. Stinky Ethan. Little punk, think I can't handle you. The weather was a bit cold. She burrowed into the quilt, covering herself with Ethan's blanket. It smelled like him. Ew. Stinky Ethan's blanket isn't even fragrant, Grace complained. She threw off the covers and got out of bed, planning to find a set of Ethan's pajamas in the closet to wear after her shower, since she would change her clothes tomorrow when she went home. Suddenly, she saw a tattered small school uniform at the bottom of the closet. She picked it up and recognized it at a glance. It was the uniform Ethan wore in elementary school, full of rips and tears. I didn't see this last time. Where'd he dig this up? Grace was puzzled, but when she saw the large tear on the back of the shirt, she paused. Memories from the past flashed back into her mind. She remembered that year. She and Ethan had just started first grade. It was a summer evening after school. At school, she was being teased and bullied by 5 boys. Back then, she had a wild temper and fought back, but she couldn't beat 5 boys. Seeing this, Ethan charged in recklessly, pushing them away, then held her tightly, shielding her in his arms. The 5 little boys pulled him, tore at him, hit him. They ripped his uniform. He was black and blue all over. But even so, Ethan protected her firmly, not letting her get hurt. The 5 boys got tired of hitting him and left. Only then did Ethan let go, collapsing on the ground. She was crying loudly and foolishly asked Ethan, Why did you save me? Ethan said with a serious face, Because we are brothers. She stopped crying and sobbed. And no, I won't be your brother. You promised to marry me.